Like, I know that, you know, Mario is a thing, and I don't question this in Mario games, but whoa, God, oh God, oh God. Okay, I can just walk over that. I did not know that. We're gonna... Kingsfield 4. I have no idea what I'm doing. Welcome back to streaming. The goal is to go back to regular streaming. We weren't actually going to be playing Kingsfield 4 today. I know that's the next game in the list, but the desire was to actually play something else entirely. I'm not going to tell you what, because I want it to be a surprise. But schedules didn't line up, and one way or another, I had to go back to work today. You're probably thinking, oh, so that means you're done, right? No, totally not. If I was done, I would be in my actual studio and not up here in the temporary laundry room area. So, since I am clearly not done, shrug. Eventually, at some point, there will be another brief, dark, might only be a day, who knows, when I will have to go down and get set up downstairs where my actual studio will be. But for the moment, this is what we've got. I've got nothing. The audio sucks, and you're going to have to live with unusual camera angles, and that's going to be the backdrop. My sister might pop in periodically. This is where we're at. That's just life. Nothing's changing any of it. Oh yes, and I'm also not wearing my coat. The reason why is because that's a sun-facing window in an upstairs of a house. If that doesn't explain it, let's just say that it's going to get very hot in here. Yeah, I'm even sitting here with shorts and t-shirt. I am wearing shorts and a t-shirt right now. It gets very uncomfortably hot in here, so this is just what we're living with. But you're probably wondering, hang on. So why are you starting streaming today if 10-headed Hydra just gave you a sub? Well, the answer is that I'm going to add the Expanse. Isn't that on the list, 10-headed Hydra? Can someone check that really quick, please? The Expanse Telltale? I'll put a question mark by that for right now. Excuse me. Probably wondering why is today the day I'm coming back to streaming. Well, some of you may or may not be aware of this, but this is 4th of July weekend. Now, it's already a truth that the longer I took with the extended dark, the worse things got. It's one of those situations where bit by bit I would lose interest, people would forget I even stream, and I myself would lose my ability to stream properly. You get it, right? So obviously the sooner I could get back to streaming, the better, but the goal was to have everything done before I get back to streaming. Obviously that has not happened, but again, this is 4th of July weekend. It would be career suicide for me to not stream today. So this was always the hard deadline. Yeah. So, having said all of that, hopefully everyone's going to have a good holiday weekend. I know a lot of people get a half day today, so hopefully you'll get that. And for those of you who don't live in the States, what's wrong with you? I mean, why wouldn't you want to live in Freedom Land? Or Fredonia, as it was almost named. That's a true story. You can look it up. So, let's actually talk about the game we're streaming today. Crap Junk 4. Now, Kingsfield 1 through 3 are, they're a trip. They have pretty much all the hallmarks of an older game, for lack of a better way to put that. They're not the greatest, but that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of heart. You can see the art, the concept of what would become the Dark Souls series in Kingsfield 1 through 3. But then they made 4. Now, what's really weird about Kingsfield 4 is it's kind of the black sheep and doesn't even have anything really to do with the timeline of Kingsfield 1 through 3. In fact, I wasn't able to 100% verify this because there is very little information on this game. But from what I could tell, this game was kind of flung out the door mostly because they had to, like they had a contractual obligation. So it was the one that was considered the worst of the original quadrilogy. So thanks for that, Mr. Red. But in addition to that, by the time they were working on this game, they already had I don't want to say pre-production work, but like the ideas and concepts of what would have eventually become Demon Souls were things they were playtesting in this game. So I'm going to be paying attention. I haven't actually played Demon Souls, but of course I've played all the Dark Souls games. So we'll see. We'll see how much of the bones of that is here. The problem, of course, is that I don't like Dark Souls games. Now you're probably thinking, oh, it's because they're too hard, right? No, actually, that's the one thing I actually enjoy about Dark Souls games. No, what I don't like is the interface, and the interface. I'm not being facetious. The way in which the menuing works, and the way in which you have to go through 3 or 4 different inputs just to do something as basic as look at an item, or trying to figure out whether or not one thing is better than the other with regards to your stats, and just I can't stand the interface. I can't stand how the game controls in terms of menuing. It's just awful. The other reason I don't like Dark Souls games is because they're gross. Also, they're depressing. But anyways, point being, the reason I'm bringing that up specifically isn't to bash Dark Souls. That's not what I'm after here. I could do that just fine on my own Dark Souls streams. No, what I'm here to explain is that Dark Souls came out quite a bit after this and still had all those interface issues. So how well do you think this game is going to fare with regards thereto? Now, before we actually jump into this game, Elden Ring, no question, Doncro, and I still gave it negatives for it, which I stand behind, by the way. Before we really jump in, though, let's show off something. So obviously, whenever I pick up a game, oh yeah, just to prove this, this is my physical copy of Kingsfield 4. So suck it. Not you guys. I mean, like anybody who decides to be like, oh my god, you're emulating. Yeah, I'm not hooking that up right now. I actually have essentially only one console hooked up right now because of temporary setup. So I don't have my PS2, PS3. I don't have the Wii U. Like all I've got right now is the Switch. So we're gonna emulate this. So
long after the rulers have
ignore him. So I was doing a tech test, right? Would you believe I've never played an Armored Core game? Not on purpose. It's just never happened. Okay, so the game started, right? Now I want you to imagine you're me, and you're sitting here looking at the game, and you're like, okay, this looks like a PS2 game, no problem. Okay, the controls are absolutely abysmally terrible. That's okay, I was expecting that. Okay, so you're walking forward, and you're just trying to test, make sure the shaders are working properly, and making sure combat works properly, and you walk this way, and then you die. What just happened, I'm not actually exaggerating, what just happened is literally what happened to me when I first fired up this game. And my first thought was, oh god, what am I getting into? What am I getting into? I'm going to predict right now this is going to be a net negative. By the way, as a reminder, you can go ahead and do the guessing game. I strongly recommend guessing a negative number. Because, you know, why did I die? Well, hang on. Let's showcase why I died. Hang on. Let's skip some cutscenes. Very important. We do not want the lore of this game at all. So, several people have pointed out the floor was different, see? Yes, by the way, you can die at any one of those. Oh my gosh. Is there a jump? There does not appear to be a jump. Why is that menu? There we go. Okay. So as you can see, that's actually a lava pit. Any questions? So I actually screwed up my own story. What actually happened was I walked forward and fell into that lava pit. Now if you're paying attention, there's plenty of lava around here. Now, Blade Terval was correct. Blade Terval was like, Laura, you're dumb and you're stupid and you're terrible, and all of those things are true. However, if I can be extremely blunt, this is bad game design. I'm just going to be very blunt about this. The fact that there is a death pit right there that you can so casually walk into, twice actually, because there's the earlier one I just showed off. Just This is literally. Here, let's count. Let's count. Yeah, honest to God, when it first happened, I thought it was a bug. I actually thought it was a bug. But when I say literally you can die, here, let's count. Let's count how many steps we take. 2. You can die 2 steps in. You all know I am really big on tutorialization in gameplay. I gushed for hours about Super Mario World, among others. There are several games that do gameplay tutorialization. Portal 2 is a little bit more modern take on that. And I love that kind of thing. I don't think this qualifies, to be very honest. Yeah, imagine if this was an arcade game. Oh, wait. That used to be a thing. How many of you played... oh, God, what was it called? You remember it, right? It was very animated. It was basically a cartoon. And you were like, woo! And then you would... Everything that you fail at, you would die. Oh, God, that's going to bother me. What was that called? What was that called? Hang on a second. Thank you, Loner. As always. No, it was an arcade game. Dragon's Lair. Thank you, Blowfell. It was Dragon's Lair. Anyone remember that game? Now, I'm not here to bash Dragon's Lair. But Dragon's Lair leaned very heavily on the let's rip quarters out of people's pockets line of design. Which was a thing back in the day. There were plenty of games that were literally designed to rip quarters out of players. Anyone remember, like, every old racing game in the arcades? Just to use another example of that. Well, not only that, Friendly Indie. I don't know if you... Or Friendly, excuse me. Friendly Indie. I don't know if you remember. But, like, there was this thing that they liked to do. It was the more subtle and irritating thing they would do. Give me one second. There was this thing racing games would do, where a quarter would not give you playing ability or whatever. It would give you time. And your time is always ticking down, and you get like 40 seconds, right? Now, hang on. Every time you cross a threshold in the race, which was either a specific marker or doing a lap, you would gain time back. But it would the insidious ones, because it would depend on the specifics, right? But the insidious ones would make it so even if you race perfectly, you cannot complete a lap in the time allotted. So the only way to complete a lap would be to put in another quarter. And it would be like, it would be just a timer, but then it would be and then it would start flashing like just to get the player to be like, oh no. And if you didn't get it in time, sucks to be you. All your progress is gone and you're back to the title screen. Get the quarter in. Hated that crap. I discovered that particular trap very early, and I didn't play a lot of racing games back in the arcade because screw that noise. Look, hazardous. It was so bad. Oh. Real quick. I'm sorry for those of you who are just here for the game, but real quick. You want to hear one last little tidbit about the apartment complex ordeal? Hang on, let me get a little music going, just so I have something to listen to. Just give me something here. So I got a phone call from the complex. This was actually just a couple of days ago. And I remember I was staring at my phone and there was just this dread on my face, like, okay. So I pick up the phone and it's a dude's voice. Don't recognize him. Hi, is this Lore? Yes. Okay, great. We're trying to find you. We're having a couple of issues with that. Uh-huh. What seems to be the issue? No, I mean that literally. Like, we can't seem to find you in the complex. That's because I've moved out. What? I'm going to skip the whole conversation. He and I actually talked for several minutes. Here's the deal. It turns out the previous woman, the incompetent woman, who was nice at the very least, but was definitely incompetent, she quit with no notice, which, if you remember, I suggested she did. I told her that to her face. But she bailed without warning, just up and left. And yeah, honestly, good for her. to be very blunt. Thing is, she also hadn't done any paperwork, up to and including mine. Now, this actually could have been a really bad deal, because that means, legally, as far as the paperwork was concerned, I was still a tenant. And if you remember, anybody who was still a tenant was automatically getting rolled over to the monthly lease plan. Correct, Darkrai. So that could have been bad, and that could have been a fight. Thankfully, this new gentleman was doing some of his due diligence, thank God for that, and was going through and basically just tabulating all the people who still lived there, because I was not the only evacuator, or evacuatee, whatever. You get the point. So he was doing some tabulation, trying to figure out who was still stuck there. Excuse me, who was still living there. And obviously, I was still living there because I was still in the system and I was still in the paperwork, and my paperwork had never actually been filed. What ended up happening is he went to my apartment, opened the door, knocked, used the key, opened the door, and found a very empty, very clean apartment, and was just like... That's when he called me, because he was just like, hold up. And credit where credit is due. That is the correct call there, because, there's obviously a mix-up, and it's better to get that lined up. While I was talking to him, I mentioned a couple of things. First of all, that I moved before June, and that I never got my security deposit back. Now, we'll see where this goes, but it's just something I wanted to mention, because it is within the realm of possibility that I might actually get my security deposit back by sheer virtue of lack of paperwork. And that may be the end of it, because after all, I moved before June, which was the cutoff date, which means no paperwork snafus there. We'll see. Because it's July 4th weekend, Bluebelt. This is July 4th weekend right now. We just started it. I mean, if you want to pull it, technically it starts tomorrow, but... Anyways, so yeah, that's where we're at right now on that. And I just had to share that last little thing. Obviously, we'll see with regards to how this affects me, because this is a paperwork thing, and honestly, it's probably going to be about a month before I hear any word from that. But the fact that she just bailed without warning is something I had to share. Let's watch that beautiful intro.
The cursed land lies deep in a dense, colorless forest.
Bad voice acting.
Hidden within this land is an ancient city, once known to the forest folk as the Holy Land. Buried in the depths of the city, a warning was discovered long after the rulers have fallen. Grave misfortune will befall those who behold the idol that stares into the darkness. The idol, taken from the ancient land, led the kingdom down a path of destruction. The idol must be returned. Under a dark and cloudy sky, the Swordmaster led his men to the ancient land. The cursed land swallowed the soldiers, and all that remained was dark silence.
Okay. I'm extremely lost. Yeah, I was gonna say, he sounds like a 50s announcer or whatever. Yes, behold. Okay, yeah, sure. So let's play the game now, so we can punch. I don't know who we are, or why we are, or what we're doing. I legitimately have no idea what's going on here. Yeah, Warcraft 3's intro? Blizzard has no idea what they're doing. Oh my god, I don't have my counter. I don't have my clickers. I can't do a death counter. I am so pathetic. Okay, okay. Like, it's probably... I apologize in advance if anybody gets nauseous. I am not trying... Oh, it's a dash. I have a dash. Like, okay, so... Oh, God, it's... Okay, okay, so let me try to explain this. Whoa, no. It's tank controls, but, like, forward is forward and back is back, but only sometimes. What I mean by that is, like, if I tilt, it starts turning, which, okay, that's fine, but you'll notice my movement has moved. So I try to go diagonal. This is me holding diagonal right now. Do you see that? Then sometimes it works, though. And I think it's the specific angle. So we are level 1, we have 50 HP, we have 5 physical, 0 magical, no gold, and no condition. Okay, cool. Brings tragedy to the one that holds it. Why am I holding this thing? Uh-oh. Okay, so our first enemies, I've actually already seen these, because tech tests. Okay, I'm ready. Oh my god. And we're dead. Right, so speaking of negatives, the original game came with a paper manual. Actually, let's find out. Yes. Now, let's see what this says. Hang on, because as we all know, I can read explicit Japanese. It says... Okay, let's see what else it says here. Oh, here's the controls. The D-pad does the... And the L and R buttons... And if we look at the HUD... It's just... I just sound Japanese, don't I? Real talk for just a second, I was like, oh god, I have to come up with something that doesn't sound offensive, because I'm not actually making fun of Japanese, right? So I was like, you know what? Damn it, Leander, I knew it! I knew it! Okay, so, negative. I'm actually, this is going to sound weird, but I'm only going to give one negative for that instant death trap at the beginning. I don't feel the need to actually make that my point and my case here. It's not good game design to be like, gotcha, especially in a game like, so I don't like gotcha in general, for both definitions of the word, but I also don't like doing it right at the beginning of the game, and I especially don't like you doing it in a way where recovering from it is kind of irritating, because what I mean by that is, if this was a game like, I'll use a direct example, Celeste. If there was a gotcha right at the beginning of Celeste, that would still be irritating, but you would recover from it in literal seconds. And then you're there, right? And then you're there. So that is a lot less egregious than having to start having to click here. Let me actually show you. This is what you have to do. You have to go click the title, because we don't have a save game yet. Wait for the title to load. Skip past this. Hit start. Hit new game. Confirm the brightness, hit skip, pause, hit skip, and then we're back. You can see how the extra steps of getting back to where you were is just makes this worse, right? So that is absolutely a negative. Door's closed behind us. Oh geez, oh geez. Okay, the door's still open. No, wait. God, I didn't realize the doors would be part of the challenge. This control. Yeah, people like FF16. FF16's got nothing on this. So these enemies hit for 20. Sorry, that took me too long to math. That shouldn't have taken me that long. So those enemies hit for 20 damage, and I gained a whole level, which gained me 8 health. Think about the significance of that. If that trend continues, that would mean we would need a grand total of 3 levels to gain 1 more hit of being hit. Fun fact, this game got funded in 291 days, which may not sound significant, but the reason I mention that is because that is, that's fast. That's actually much faster than average. So of all the games I could have get fast tracked, it's not, you know, Tears of the Kingdom. It's not, you know, FF16. It's not anything else. It's this. This is the game that got fast tracked. So I think this says a lot, really. I don't know about you all. I think my viewers just hate me. I think that's just what it is. And that's okay, you know, we need a little hatred in our lives, right? That's how it is. So, Pika asks, do I like that Pikmin 4 got a demo? But the real question there is, do I like game demos in general? And the older I get, and the more knowledge I get about game design and production cycles, the weirder my opinion gets about game demos. Because, on the one hand, I love game demos. They're a fantastic way for players to, you know, see if they actually like the game and give you an insight into it and blah, 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 blah. But on the other hand, that's not true. And it's wasted time. Hear me out for a second. So first of all, how many of you have played a demo of a game where you loved the demo and didn't like the game? I used to run into that problem all the time back in the shareware days, for those of you who were around for that. I'd be like, oh wow, this game's great, I love this. And then I'd actually play it, and yeah. Because the real issue there is that demos are not what you would call indicative of the actual game. Yeah, and this is a very common problem. There are so many games where the beginning of the game is the best part of the game. And then the further into the game you get, the worse the game gets. That's actually normal. That is common. It is unusual when a game actually manages to continue to maintain quality throughout. And it makes perfect sense why, too. Yeah, Tor is a perfect example of this. It makes perfect sense why game design works that way. Dragon Age 2 is a perfect example of what I'm talking about as well, which had a great demo. Mass Effect 3 even had an interesting and fun demo. Remember, I commented on that during the recent review. It was the level when we were saving the Krogan female. So it's very common that you get the best part of a game, and then you get sold on it, and then it's like, hey, oh, so first of all, it's kind of misleading. You know, I agree with that, Foskable, which I hope I'm pronouncing at least partially correct, because I can't do pronunciations to save my life. But you're right, Doom, Knee Deep in the Dead, is arguably the best episode of Doom, and I anticipate we'll cover that when we do the Doom blog. Now, obviously, that's not always true. I can think of several games that had a demo, which was a good demo, which was an indicative demo, which made me buy the game, and then I was glad that I bought the game. But you see the problem inherent. Then there's the fact that it's kind of hurts the developers. So think about this. Put yourself into the shoes of someone working on a game. Doesn't matter which field. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Maybe you're a zone programmer. Maybe you're someone who's painting terrain access. Maybe you're someone who's doing enemy design. Maybe you're Jinja Ninja and trying to interrupt my spiel with a sub, which I'm just going to ignore for the moment. And you are told, hey, so listen, I know you're already working full-time on, you know, the game, but I'm going to need you to kind of put all that on hold and put together a demo for the game. And then you're like, oh, okay, sure. Let me just pause my job and go do more work. It's effectively more work on the developer for kind of nothing. I say kind of nothing. What I mean by that is, it is the developer doing the job of the marketing department, which... So it's not like it's a complete waste of time, and it's not like it's something that's, you know, unacceptable, but at the same time you can see how, like put yourself into the shoes of the person just going in for your job, and it's like, hey, do more work. So, sorry for kind of the long answer there. No, Mr. Yeah, Quake is a perfect example of the first episode is easily the best part of that episode, or the best part of Quake. My opinion. I used to replay the first episode of Quake as my relax game, as my, I feel like, unwinding game. No, Pika, obviously. Anyways, that's my long and winding answer about that. I have lost 2 months of my life to nonsense. We're streaming now. Whoa, I don't know what happened there. There's no jump animation. Okay, hold up. I really don't want to blow an herb on being able to survive a jump, but it looks like I have no choice, so we blow the herb. Let's see if we can survive this with full health. Yeah! It's like he's excited. He sounds so happy to be dead, and I mean, honestly, can you blame him? I would say that game balance is obviously very important when it comes to just about any game. Not just for PvP. A lot of people think game balance is a PvP only thing. They're very wrong. Because let's say you have any kind of cooperative game, or even a non-cooperative game, and let's say that you have one class, or one ability, or one spec that is just fundamentally better than all of the other classes and builds and specs. Like, it's not just... Because there's always going to be the best. No, Von Falkenstein. But if there's one that's just got a huge gap, right? I've talked about this. In fact, I've talked about this. There's even a specific term for it, which I can't remember. You can measure... Yeah, exactly, Shadow Machine. You can literally measure the range of balance in a game, especially in MMO. All you have to do is look at one specific class or build or whatever and measure its relative damage output and survival capacity, and then measure another build. And the worst and the best. That's your range, right? Now, there's more that goes into that, and I've talked about this before, but the idea really is for this to be small, but not zero. You actually don't want every class to be perfectly balanced. I know that sounds strange, but everything being perfectly balanced is just going to turn it into the spiffing brick. I mean, it's going to create a situation where you're actually kind of removing player choice, because a lot of players are going to just think, well, what's the point? And anybody trying to min-max or whatever, that's just not going to work, because there is no min-maxing, right? You want there to be a variance. You want there to be a reward for the player for making a good build. And you want there to be a detriment for making a bad build. But it can't be too big of a gap. If it's too big of a gap, then you have problems. It's something I talk about constantly. Feasibility, right? When we talk about build gameplay, we talk a lot about feasibility. Because just because a build is worse than another build isn't necessarily bad. What matters is the build feasible? This is something Star Trek Online gets very well, for example. Because in Star Trek Online, you can have a really, really low DPS build, but it's still viable. It is still a functional build that you can play through the game with relatively little effort. It's just, you can also go way over here, right? And all of this is presuming pure PvE. The moment you add competitive gameplay, all of a sudden balance becomes a much bigger issue, right? Getting ahead of all of that, I do think that... I do think that the developer needs to essentially decide what they want more. Do they want the player to have builds? Or do they want the players, the various abilities and classes and whatever, to be balanced? These are not mutually exclusive. I just pointed to 2 examples of games there where these are not mutually exclusive. Star Trek Online and World of Warcraft. Both of those have huge build gameplay and are fairly balanced games. The catch is that sometimes development is a zero-sum game. Any time you spend developing X is time you're not spending developing everything else, right? It is a finite, zero-sum resource. So you as a developer have to decide how important which one is. If you want to spend all that time and trying to have builds and balance, then that's probably an entire team's job, right? Going back to WoW for a second, there's a reason that every micro patch that WoW has at least a few class tweaks and a few ability tweaks, right? Because they're always tracking the numbers, they're always tracking the builds, and the balancing is a constant effort in WoW. Going over to something like FF14, it's not like they don't care about balance, but you can see why they probably want to reduce the overall amount of time and effort they spend on the balancing. So they make it easier to balance by flattening the choices for the players. This is universally true. This is true in single-player RPGs. If you're playing Final Fantasy VII, it is easier to balance that game than it is to balance Final Fantasy IV, simply because one of those has a party of 3 and the other has a party of 5. And that's it. But again, you can still balance for a party of 5. It just takes more time and effort. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of giving you a non-answer here, Venetia, so I apologize for that. But my point is that really it's kind of up to the specifics of what the developers value more. What do you want to be a higher priority for your dev time? Something I talk about a lot is the priority list. The priority list, a lot of people misunderstand this. The priority list is not what you care about, because by default, everything on the priority list is something that you care about. The priority list is there for when there's a conflict of interest. For when, like, you want a game to be good and you want the game to be cheap. Let's just use that as an example. But if there's a conflict between those two things, if you have to cut prices or if you want to force it, which one do you focus on, right? Which one has the higher priority? You always want everything on the priority list, though. And that's my overall point, because that's kind of how the zero-sum game works. It's like, well, you have to shuffle it around, so we're going to move this one up the list, and that's the thing we're going to focus on. Let's get another highlight here, shall we? Let's talk about something that I was just kind of talking about. Itemization. Itemization actually means a lot of things depending on the game, but one of the biggest things it means is handling the flow-through of input in terms of currency, resources, experience, equipment, and your output, how much you are spending, what you have access to, etc. I rather infamously mentioned that the worst itemized game I've ever played is Secret of the Stars, which was terribly itemized. But something that most games that have this kind of functionality, defeat enemy, get currency, spend currency at shops, fairly basic loop, right? Most games that do that design it so the idea is that even if your progress is slow, it is steady. What I mean by that is, let's say that you're playing a typical RPG. You go outside, you fight some enemies, and they nearly kill you. But it's okay because they gave you 100 gold, and the inn costs 50. You see the logic? So you go out again, kill the enemies again, go stay at the inn. Go out, kill the enemies, go stay at the inn, and you'll start to get ahead of the curve, because they specifically designed the gold drop to be higher enough in order to make sure that you always, even if you manage just one single fight, you always have enough money to go and recover with it. Enemies in this game give about 7 gold. A single herb costs 30. Oh, remember how hard enemies hit around here, too. We've already kind of established that. Also remember that enemies don't always drop gold. It's something that they can just decide not to do. So, yeah, kill that many enemies without taking damage, and you will successfully keep ahead of the curve. That's not great. that's not great. Yeah, there's also traps you can fall into. We've already showed off 2 of them. Apparently an MP, an ether, is 300 gold. Exactly, crazy nerds. No, I have not, G-Juice. I have not played FF16. I have not played Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't had time. This is not really a complaint, but it totally is a complaint. I have not had time to play video games. I've been working. I want to make that very clear, because I know that it would probably be a good thing if I took time off, but I turbo have not been taking time off. I've been working my ass off for the last month. Every day I have been busting. Like, have you ever lifted tile? Because I have, repeatedly. I had to have a freaking forklift load this thing of tile onto the truck, and then guess who got to unload that tile piece by piece and then take it downstairs? Yeah, no, I've been busting. It's been a thing. I mean, that does sound like Workplace Politics Act, so I wouldn't be surprised. So do we die instantly underwater? Yes. Cool. So hang on. So there's that save we made, which we totally did. Chasing pixels, chasing polygon counts. There's 2, I've thought about it, Crazy Norse. There's 2 big issues here, and they both intertwine. It would be very easy for me to say it's the company's fault for constantly chasing graphics at the expense of game design. But as with most things in life, I feel like that's a little bit too simplistic of an answer for a more complex situation. The problem is a decent chunk of the gaming audience has demanded an increase in graphics and fidelity pretty much since the late 90s at this point. Possibly mid-90s, but definitely late 90s. Now you're probably thinking, I haven't demanded that. No, you probably haven't. But that's because you're a gamer. Now, I know that sounds like a weird sentence, but you know what I mean. Or if you don't, I'll explain it in a second. It's always so strange to think about game design, movie design, show design, because you have to consider that the people who are actually fans of the work in question are usually the minority of the audience, relatively speaking. You know, let me put it to you this way. How many of you would consider yourselves Mario fans? Like actual, no really, you're really into Mario games. I will raise my hand on that. I'm a huge fan of Mario games and Mario design, and I have been for a very long time. But Mario games sell very well. How many people do you think would consider themselves Mario fans? And you get the idea I'm reaching for here, right? This is one of the reasons, the phrase I like to use is there's popular appeal, and then there's fan appeal. And the example I always like to use for that is Star Trek. Star Trek TNG The Next Generation had popular appeal. Lots and lots of people who were not sci-fi fans, who were not Star Trek fans, liked Star Trek The Next Generation. How many people liked Deep Space Nine? Now, obviously, hey, we leveled. Didn't heal, but we leveled. DS9 was arguably better. I agree with that. But DS9 never had popular appeal. It had fan appeal. It appealed to people who were fans of sci-fi and people who were fans of Star Trek. You get it? So when you're considering things like large-scale trends like chasing graphics, you have to consider that it's not just people who are fans of games or people who are fans of specific genres of games that are pushing that. It's people in general, popular appeal. Now, I'm not saying that gamers are completely innocent in this, because obviously there are plenty of people who have insisted on a game looking better and better and better. But by and large, most of the trend historically has been more that people want the game to look better and better and better. Now, that's not just on the people, though. It's not universally on the popular appeal, but because some of that is on the marketing. Because a lot of games, especially in the early aughts, were marketed entirely on the weight of their graphics. And people would buy those games on the weight of their graphics, and then would demand better graphics, leading to more of a focus on graphics. It was self-feeding, right? Let me use a perfect example. No, I would not act. Let me use a perfect example. Final Fantasy VII. Now, how many of you remember the ad campaign for FF7? No judgment if you don't. It was a while ago. For those of you who don't remember it, you can look it up if you feel like it. Every single ad campaign, hey, we can kill these in 2 hits now. Every single ad campaign was focused on one thing: the cutscenes. They didn't show off the game. They didn't show off the story. They showed off the cutscenes and nothing else. It was all focused on the graphics. Even the big, I'm sure you've seen the big marketing spread where like there's a shot of the Junon cannon and it's like, you can't do, we're gonna kill the competition or whatever it was. Basically casting shade that the N64 couldn't have the graphic fidelity of the PS1. And that's how FF7 was marketed. And that's one of the reasons why FF7 had popular appeal. Not just fans of FF or fans of RPGs. People, just people, picked up FF7 because of the graphics. And so you see how this is kind of this self-perpetuating cycle. Now, thankfully, we've reached a point where graphics are getting to the point where you can't lean on fidelity as hard as it used to. Thank God, because I don't know about you, I'm already sick to death of people leaning on graphics fidelity. I have been for 20 years. But, ironically, now the shift is a lot more towards graphic styling. How many of you have seen a game that looks generically good in recent memory? I can raise my hand on this because I don't remember. I actually commented on it during my recent lore week when I was showcasing the PC gaming show and the Sony showcase and the Microsoft showcase. I don't remember the game name, please forgive me, but there were several games that were generically good looking. And I was like, okay, that looks generically good. But it literally looked generic, as the term implies. I was just like, okay, that's not interesting looking. You need to have style nowadays in order to actually push past that. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We've moved, this is a really long highlight reel, I apologize. We've kind of moved past simply leaning on Fidelity, because Fidelity has honestly kind of capped. Like, we've kind of peaked with Fidelity. And that's fine. I would say personally Pixar peaked with Toy Story 4. I can even use a specific example. At the beginning of Toy Story 4, slight spoilers for the beginning of the movie, there's a moment where they're in a rainstorm, and it looks bonkers good. I cannot explain without just showing it to you how good Toy Story 4's intro just looks. But again, I think that was the peak. I think they have peaked. I don't think it's getting better than that without, like, microscopic improvements at this point. I should point out, just obviously I've been kind of bypassing it, but I don't know if you've noticed, we have encountered a grand total, exactly, Venetia, a grand total of 1 save point right now. So, like, if anything happened to us, like if we wanted to go save, we'd have to go all the way back to the other side of essentially 2 zones to go save. And we're poisoned. Let's see how fast poison kills us. Hey, yeah, I'm Dragon. By the way, anybody I hadn't say hello to, I apologize. Is that poison just gonna straight up kill us? I suppose I have my answer. Okay, hang on. You know my favorite thing about this game so far? We've been playing for about 2 hours, and we have gone 2 rooms into the game. 2. I have no idea, Blade to Know. I don't know what my objective is, in gameplay or in plot. I have no idea what I'm doing or why or where I'm going. I'm not trying to be facetious. I literally have no idea what's going on. I'm not sure what I think of the music, because it could be worse in 2 separate ways. So I'm still kind of like, So 274. Okay, those gave 6 experience. Now, by coincidence, that just leveled us, but that sounds like a whole lot of not worth our time. Fortunately, they're literally blocking the way. Notice the enemies haven't really started giving us any more, money yet. Heal me, please? Oh my god. Oh my god. Why does a healing station... Okay, whatever. Moving on. Hey, elevator and rest area. Let's go to the rest area. This sounds like something I should do. Gross. Oh. Did you see how much he hit me for? From full health? Okay. Try running by him. Run. We're yeah, you know what? We did it. We beat him. Okay. Oh, god damn it. Yeah, how is it not running out of puke? Like, at a certain point, you'd think there would no longer be anything in the stomach, right? 3 hits. Oh, what? 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 Apparently enemies are on a timed respawn. And that took a minute. Yeah! We're dead! Okay, so then we go back to where we saved. I literally... So we're just gonna put up the cheat line. I'm not dealing with any of this crap. Boy, Oh, it actually does say the damage. I was about to complain because it didn't have a damage comparison. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's durability. We haven't really run into it yet, but durability is a thing. Alright, so let's, for no reason, like, Mr. Red, you're awesome, and, you know, you're a great person and all that. But I think it's time to already pull the trigger on cheating. I am already at a point where I hate this. So I think this is the quickest I ever cheated, but honestly, I was leaning towards cheating walking in. It's a PS2 game, so it's probably... Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. PS2 game, which is potentially problematic for reasons we've already talked about. And then there's the fact that it's got... it's a Fromsoft game. There's our stats. It's a Fromsoft game. It's a PS2 game. And let me kill the Marvel music for a second. And I actually poked at it a little bit, and I could tell the style and approach the game was going to be. And yeah, that's just probably what it is. This was something I was pretty sure was going to be a cheat game. And you're probably thinking, but Lauren, you suck. And that's true. I do absolutely suck. But the thing is, I don't really care anymore. Time is a finite thing, just like everything else is. And all of the time that I burn on a game like this is time I could spend doing a lot of other things. And the two people who really care about how well I review this game are both in chat, and both of them have told me quite overtly, just cheat. So, the only reason that I would consider not cheating is those two people. And both of them are cool with it. That's what that is. Okay, we're gonna pretend we didn't say that. We could see the beginnings of the Scarlet Rot even in Elden Ring, or even in Kingsfield. Now we're poisoned. This is fine. Everything's fine. We're just poisoned. It's okay. We're Superman. Yes, I know what a rock of life is. I know what a rock of life is. I know what a rock of life is. Take the rock of life. Take it. Take it. Take the rock. Take the rock. I'll kill you. Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyways, let me get this rock of life to you, ma'am, so that you can be healed. Okay, hang on. Ah, here we go. Oh, these are... Oh. Okay. Okay. So, the answer to my question is yes. In order to cast the buffs and heals, you have to do it from the menu. In order to cast the nukes, the DPS stuff, you do it from the hotkey. Yeah, okay. That is definitely a negative. Okay. That controls. Again. It's actually a really good question, Venetia. So I think I'm going to go ahead and say that that is not a limitation of tech. And I can specifically say why. I can give a direct example, and that example is Kingdom Hearts. Okay. Because Kingdom Hearts has a tendency, it allows you, came up with the concept, came up's the wrong word. Kingdom Hearts allowed you to, what the hell is that? Do shortcutting in terms of design. So you hold down L or R or whatever the hell it is, and then hit a button. Now, it's relatively primitive, but nevertheless, that allowed you to have multiple buttons to cast with, rather than just having to have, in this case, one button and going into the menu with the others, right? So I don't think it's a tech issue. Sorry, that took way too long to say that, but I think you get the point. So let's try Firewall. Let's save, because I think I might be about to crash the game. Have I reviewed a game that didn't at least get one negative? I think so. I think we reviewed games that got no negatives. Stuff that, you know, logically should not be boring. No. Oh god. Oh god, I am powerless before them. There's only one thing to do, and that is I quit Prince Fell. Let's talk visual storytelling. I noticed this earlier, but that was the first time it was clear what was happening. So, the corpses, when you kill them, a spider pops out of them. And there's a lot of spiders in this area. See? I mean, if we're being honest, if there is one positive Souls-likes should always get, it is for visual storytelling. It's kind of their only shtick for storytelling, so they better get that positive. Yeah, I don't know how or why, but there's definitely some, like, I don't think these people are infested. I think they're dead. And the corpses have been animated by the spiders. Alright, let's cast Dark Matter. That's pretty boring. A spell called Dark Matter. Okay. What am I doing? Right. I knew there was something specific I was doing. Okay, I'm playing it up a little bit for the stream, but to be very clear, I just physically unclenched. I physically unclenched. Okay, so this is where we came from. Okay, so this is how we entered that portion of the city. So we have successfully backtracked. I don't know why we're backtracking, and I don't know what our destination is or what we're going for or anything whatsoever. What are we doing? Why are we roaming through this freaking dungeon of hell? What are we doing? I have a decent mental map kind of a thing, and so far the game is small enough, ironically, that I'm kind of keeping track of where we are. There's a couple of specifics I don't have, but like vaguely I know where we're at. I wouldn't call Bison a supervillain. He's just a villain. He's just a villain. I just want to die, Brax. That's all I really want to do. I want to hear the yeah again. For those of you not aware, he actually died doing that movie, which is just horrible. But credit to Raul Julia, he was throwing himself into that role, just absolutely throwing into it. Just wait, no. No, absolutely, Crazy Horse. Nobody would remember the Street Fighter movie if not for Raul Julia. Oh, I've seen that, Salvacom. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pretend that Mr. Red didn't type anything at all in the joke channel, and I think we're just gonna move on from that. I think that's gonna be it. Hang on. Let's line this up. Okay, so we're here now. So we were like turbo lost. Right? And we were so lost that I noticed as I was... So, okay. We were at a point where I'm reasonably, but not 100% sure that what was required was we had to backtrack to something we missed. Anything we missed, somewhere within the game, which is, as you might imagine, that's a fairly large area. So I was in the process of beginning backtracking. While doing so, I noticed that there was a platform down below I could drop down to. And since I'm invincible, I went ahead and did it. Now we're here. Not sure what to make of this place, honestly. I'm honestly, if I can be very blunt for just a second, no offense, Mr. Red, I'm just glad to be out of that goddamn place. I was so sick of that area. Like, I've complained about the samey corridors, but I was actually thinking about it. The place that is worst for the samey corridors is the place we were just at. The dull, gray rooms surrounded by dull, gray rooms. What? I know where I am. I just sold my last map to some old man. You what? I can't even buy the map. I can't even buy the map. He doesn't sell the map anymore. Did you know the forest folk were skilled at imbuing tools that stored the power of nature? People say the spring outside was once filled with healing water. Perhaps this water was used in the imbuing process. I have a special vial. I heard it was used to hold healing water. If you want it, we can work out a deal. Rock of Life, that was once excavated. It's hard to find nowadays. If you wanted the vial, I'll exchange it for Rock of Life. Cool! Give me the Rock of Life. Thank you. Alright, so. Now, I want you to imagine this game without being able to effectively skip combat, which is what we're doing right now. Just picture that. Picture every enemy can one or two shot us. And would probably take close to a minute to kill because of the leashing method. What? You've got to be kidding me. Are we just straight up bugged? Okay. Okay. Wow, this is one of the worst written walkthroughs I have ever seen. The one you linked me, Mr. Red. This is garbage. I can tell after having glanced at 3 paragraphs. This is garbage. Wow. No, it's just like, let me give you an example. Time to traverse tunnels. Now go back through the large door down the stairs and left. Pass up the doorway to where you got the bow and enter the door on the far end. Explore the area. Eventually it leads to the central tower on the first floor. There's a magic crystal here. There's some scale mail behind a secret door. You can also get the iron boots, but the greaves are better. That's the... Hang on a second. God, we're back to... Whatever, I don't even care. Let's just go. Let's go. He's going over here. Yep. And then he goes this way. Then he doesn't get... Almost fall off. He goes this way. Okay. Then he goes this way. And then he goes this way. It looks like he's going for the door. I don't know, Mr. Red. I don't know. Because, yeah, this is now a new area. We haven't been here before. Gonna save. I'm gonna go grab a bite to eat, okay? I'll be back in a bit.
One lunch break later.
Let's just jump back right into this, shall we? Whoop. You like how we waited until I looked down at him to shoot me with his venom spit? Did you notice that? What a prick. He's like, wait for it. Ah, right in your face. Are you an enemy? It's been a while since I've seen a human. This is the Holy Forest, home of the forest folk. So you were lost? Understandable, since the city can be confusing at times. When our king walked within the city, he used magic called the Power of Passage. Now with the city in ruins and areas sealed, perhaps you will need this magic. I could have led you to the king's room if you had come with the time when the forest golem used to move. He has no food now. The monsters roam in the heart of the forest, and since I haven't been able to get food for him. Since I cannot perform my duties, the only thing I can do is watch over him as he withers away. You know what? I literally just realized why the Dark Souls method of text bothers me, where it doesn't bother me in Final Fantasy. Can anyone guess why? Because it literally just occurred to me. In Final Fantasy game, people will talk until they are finished talking. That sounds obvious, but what I mean by that is they'll be like, everything that woman just said would be one sequence of text. So you talk to her, and she says, hey, this is a thing, and 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 a thing. Then she'd stop talking. Then you could talk to her again, and then she might have additional information, optional or bonus information, or maybe just flavor text, or maybe she'll repeat herself, depending on which NPC she is. But that's how they do it. In the Dark Souls method, there's a line of dialogue, and then it goes away. And then there's a line of dialogue, and then it goes away. It, like, artificially chops up the dialogue, and it's such an irrelevant thing, but it detracts from the overall experience, specifically because of the fact that there's nothing indicating when a particular train of thought has finished. Instead, it's dialogue, 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 loop, loop, loop. As opposed to the FF method, which is dialogue, optional, loop, loop. Make sense? You see the gap there between the two. That's cute. A poison trap in a chest that gives you an antidote. Very cute. I should be reading this out loud. Sorry. The unwise king was sealed using the proof of wisdom. God damn it. I always have power. I'm not kingly? What? I'm not kingly? Alright, where's my Frostmourne? Apparently I gotta school a couple people here. Oh, sorry. No one gets the lights from me. Oh no, my mana, which is definitely being drained. Look at how drained my mana is. Die, Sentinel. No. Die, Sentinel? Oh, you got some health if it took that long to kill you, Jesus. 100 gold. I could buy one antidote with that Sentinel boss we just killed. No, it's the best music in the game. So let's be a little more prolific with saving. Okay, who's ready for... Yes! This is my soul food right here. Pizza. It's like regular pizza, but with more beat. So, anyways, negative for the passage of light. Just don't honestly feel the need to explain that one. Negative for the passage of light. And soon, everything everywhere will be covered in concrete. And you might be thinking, what's the point of that? Well, there's actually an ancient curse on the earth that suffering and disease and horror all exist until the earth is covered in concrete. Okay, that's a dick move, game. That's a bunch of skeleton archers in a game where you don't have a dodge. That's a dick move. Hi, Dark Prince Revan. I'm sorry. I mean, as I mentioned, I've been extraordinarily busy trying to get ready for streaming. I actually failed. I didn't really finish all the stuff I wanted to get done. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is just the developers being a dick. Jesus. Okay, so it's now east. This is where I actually went earlier. Alright, so let's scroll up to the east map. From 16, which is there. What? Okay, so I think... Yeah, laundry too. So I need to go this way. I was thinking about irritation recently. Believe it or not, that actually has nothing to do with the game I'm playing right now. It really was just on my mind for an unrelated reason. Because see, irritation, at least for me and a couple other people I know, is a unique thing. Let me use basic math to try to explain this. So let's say you're irritated, and you're like, I'm irritated. So you're at an irritation value of 1. Now let's say, while you are still irritated with an irritation value of 1, something comes along that would also be an irritation value of 1. So naturally, you would think that would increase your irritation to 2. Or maybe it would just stay at 1. But neither of those things are true, because your new irritation value is 3. Because you have the original irritation, 1, the new irritation, compounded by the existing irritation, 1 plus 2, as opposed to 1 plus 1. Then you get irritated again. Even if it's another 1, that now puts you up to 7 irritation level. Even little irritants irritate you all the more because it's all compounding. And then if you get irritated while you're irritation level 7, your new irritation would be 15. And it just keeps doing that. Ah, that's the stuff right there. That's what I've been missing in my life. Oh, hey, there's like no collision down here. Yeah, I can just do this. Hey, Nemesis. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to get like the biggest, doomiest gun you've got and just shove it into my face and pull the trigger until the ammo runs out. Could you do that for me, please? So, this game obviously sucked, right? It's the worst game ever made in the history of the universe, ever. I think we can all agree on that. This game is literally Hitler, and personally ran up and punched my dog to death right in front of me, right? But ignoring such hyperbole, I've been thinking about that explorative thing, because I can think of several games I really enjoy exploring in, just roaming around and finding stuff. And so, I found myself sitting and trying to process what the real difference is. I think, other than the obvious direction thing, we talked about that with regards to the Zelda games, there's another thing that's important. The game needs a spine, or a column, or whatever you want to call it. The game needs a central element to anchor the rest of the game around, right? Yeah, a degree of structure to it. Yeah, a through line is a great way to put that. In a Metroid game, I know exactly what I'm doing. Long term, large scale. I know what my overall goals are and where I'm trying to reach and what I'm trying to do there. In this game, the most I've ever been able to figure out is a couple of vague inferences based on what I have been able to find immediately. So, what am I doing? I still, as of this moment, 5 hours in, cannot tell you what I am trying to accomplish in the midterm or in the long term. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I have no idea why I'm doing it. There is no structure or through line. So instead, it's just, I'm roaming doing stuff. And if I might be so bold, that's not just a vague, ephemeral thing of preference and enjoyability, but it's also a very tangible thing when it comes to gameplay design, because it helps you to anchor your thoughts and give you an idea of progression, right? If you're just roaming, then you're just roaming. If you're thinking, okay, I need to get to Norfair. Okay, in order to get to Norfair, I need to go through this other area in Brinstar. Okay, well, this area in Brinstar is locked off, but it gave me this thing, which allows me to access this other area up here. Okay, this area looped up into Criteria, but it's okay because up there, there's a progression path forward. Okay, I beat that boss, and now I gain this new access thing. Ah, this is going to allow me to access Meridia. Once I go through Meridia, I'll gain this other thing, and this will give me the ability to go through Norfair. I'm using Super Metroid as the example because I can do that by memory because I speedrun that game. But you get my point, right? At all points, you're constantly working towards getting to your destination, even if your actual path is something a little bit more like this. In terms of progression, you're always getting closer to Norfair. Make sense? Because you've got that through line. I'm going to keep using that word, Eva. It's a great word. And here, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Like, I do feel like occasionally I have progressed by sheer virtue of having found a new song. But that's kind of it, you know? And yeah, it's actually fascinating because I keep comparing this game to a Metroid game, but those of you who know me know I'm doing that on purpose to build up to comparing this to another game, Dark Souls. Dark Souls lives and breathes game design, especially level design. And yes, Sean, we're back to regular streaming. So you could tell that they took a lot of those lessons to heart. There's always a fairly clear... I mean, Dark Souls in particular, Dark Souls 1, to be very clear about that, has a really strong thing with regards to visual continuity is what I call that, where you can see where you are, where you're going, and what you want to do. And so you're like, okay, well, there's this giant castle in the distance. That's my destination, right? That's where I want to go. And so you can start working in that general direction to make that happen. And you'll get through some gates and go through some tunnels and some passageways, but you're always working towards that destination. Same concept. These respawn really quickly, but I think I've explored this area sufficient. There's clearly no what you fig here. Hey, Saber for life. That's a negative. I gave Parasite Eve the exact same negative. I'm giving this the same negative. Yeah, that's straight up pixel hunting. That's straight up pixel hunting. Screw that nonsense. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Ed. You get. So, for those of you not aware, I actually had run through here the first and second times I came through this room and was mashing interact on the graves. All of them, including the one I just did. But because of how imprecise it is, like you have to be at the right spot, looking at the right angle to loot them, you don't actually get something if you're not doing it right. And because the overwhelming majority of graves have nothing, you, the player, don't have the feedback necessary to know that you should be doing that at all. The only reason that I knew to do this was because Mr. Red, like 2 minutes ago, just said it's one of the graves in the back. So I went back and mashed 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 until I found the right spot on the right grave. This is an avoidable problem. This is a solved problem, even by the era in which this game came out. Because there's something a lot of games do this. I even talked about that during Parasite Eve. A lot of games will do a thing where the interact box is actually much larger than the item in question, right? So, for example, you know, in a better design, I could be back here and hit interact. I can't believe that actually worked, apparently. But I could be, like, over here and hit interact. Or I could be over here and facing this way and hit interact. And it would work, right? Because the interact range has been improved to the point where it's easier. Actually, yes, hazardous, to be blunt. And so in that case, when I ran through the first time, just mashing interaction, like I'm doing right now, I would have caught it. And it would have been like, I have to loot the coffins. Cool. And then I would have made sure and double check each of the coffins, right? Forgive me. I'm trying very hard not to sound as irritated as I actually am, and just approach this as neutrally as I can, because I need you to understand that that's bad game design. That's not explorative. That's not refusing to hold my hand. That's crap. Yeah, I hate to say that I was right, but I was right. I absolutely should have cheated. We would be so much further back. So much further back, if not for the fact that I was cheating. And so much of this, there would be so many more deaths, so many more reloads. Keep in mind how few and far between save systems are. Oh, speaking of which, I need to give a negative to save. Oh, never mind, I already did. We're cool. I mean, something I've slowly become aware of as I do more and more reviews is that certain games and shows and movies can be considered more by virtue of things that the game or show or movie didn't really earn. Things outside, for example. the all-important familiarity effect, or just the fact that it's the first Star Wars strategy game that we've like ever... There's the upcoming Star Trek Stellaris game. I guarantee you I'm going to enjoy that. Because it's a Star Trek 4X. And we've only had one other of those, and that one sucked. No offense to anybody like Group of Federation. So, the game doesn't really get any credit for it. I agree with my own statement that, you know, the reviews shouldn't include those kind of things. But, you know, that does still add to, or even detract in some cases, of the enjoyment of a particular work. And that's something that needs to be kept in mind as well. It's just interesting to think about, I suppose. Okay. So now that we have discovered the ice cream cone maker, we're going to have to find our way to the Jello maker, because some of our viewers do not actually enjoy Jello. And I do not enjoy ice cream. It's too hard on their teeth. Maybe it's just, maybe they're lactose intolerant. Maybe there's something, I mean, maybe there's something else wrong with them. Maybe they're just diseased and deranged in the brain. I don't know. But something's wrong with these people, and therefore they cannot enjoy ice cream. So we have, what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to find the route to the Jello land. Now, what's really frustrating about all this is that I hate everything in the world. Oh my god, why is this so terrible? Why? Why? What did I do to you? What did I do to you? Who hurt you, game? Who hurt you? Yes! I think. Okay. Okay. This is actually where we're trying to get to. So let me pause the amazing Mega Man music and turn on the terrible in-game music. Remember, the only reason I even know to come this direction was because I was staring at a map. Nothing anywhere in any way indicated that this is a direction I should go towards. Nor did it in any way indicate that this is part of my quest. I'm just going this way. Apparently they're just immune to fire. They're not immune to pickaxes, so they're dead. So these dragons have been going out of their way to try and... You know how dragons are, right? They constantly hoard stuff. Well, after the great Taco Bell apocalypse of 2027, there was this terrible incident where all of the Jello packages... Well, I mean, obviously, the company themselves fell apart. I mean, you know about that. So once all the Jello companies fell apart, the supply of Jello started to dwindle. Now, normally nobody would care, but actually, for some strange reason, Jello became known as a luxury good. In fact, it was so much of a thing that people started treating it as a national resource. That's why we have the Jello forges. Now we need to go ahead and reactivate the Jello forge in order to spread the love and joy of Jello to the dwarves again. Once the dwarves have the love of Jello, they can get back on their feet and get back to work. Right now they're suffering from cripplingly low morale. Just the worst. So that's our current goal. Get Jello, 2 dwarves, help dwarves. Now, it's worth noting what we're doing is not... Thanks, Mr. Red. I'm sorry that... I guess I'm not sorry for anything. I feel bad that this game sucks. Let me put it that way. That's a true statement. Because it does. I'll be returning into my quarters now. Thanks for the Jello. Okay, here's the Earth Dude. Hey, Earth Dude. Sup? First boss fight. Okay, is that the ice thing? You know what? Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Oh, I can't just... Hang on. Yeah, I can't just turn cheats off. I can't just toggle them. That sucks. I was gonna see how bad that is for real. Because I bet you that fight sucks. I bet you every boss fight in this game sucks. I bet you money right now. How am I supposed to fight that with this game's engine? For those of you who are not aware, you get like 2 or 3 spells worth of mana, and this is your attack speed. And he can dodge. Oh my god, this is awful. Yep, okay, so anyways, he's dead. We haven't seen the field yet. We've only seen the king. Well, the downfall of the kingdom was caused... Actually, you know what? We do have an answer to that, unironically. It's one of the, it's literally one of the only things we know about the plot. There's a cursed idol, which we happen to have on us. That looks interesting. And the king became obsessed with it. That's it. That's all we know. But yes, in reality, it was just the lack of Jello. Now that the Jello forges are going again, I don't even have something to make up because I don't know where we're going next. Wait, this is a different kingdom than the... Okay. Okay. Look, it was a dude lurched over like he was a zombie. He had all the accounts, all the hallmarks of being an enemy, okay? I don't know what you want from me. You know, Blade Trifall, I think you're right. Oh. I was waiting. Yeah, you see the problem there, right? Like, you notice the confusion. I think you're right. If I'm being completely honest, Mr. Red, neither did I actually thought this might be like a -1 to maybe 5 golden number. That's what I was expecting walking in. You know, the initial screw you, and it's like, okay, yeah, okay, fine, game. But the combat's very Morrowindy, or at least it looked very Morrowindy. And, you know, the graphics were very Morrowindy, and I'm like, okay, sure. You know, it won't score super great, but I'm sure it'll salvage itself somewhere. I wasn't expecting this at all. I really wasn't. Make of that what you will. Code of Honor. you haven't seen Turnabout Intruder, Ross. Code of Honor is considered one of the worst Trek episodes ever. Here's the thing, though. People have this weird psychological thing. They tend to do this thing where something happens and it's either good or bad. And because of how the real-life telephone game works, people tend to repeat the most commonly repeated points for why it is both good or bad, right? So what happens here is people look at Star Wars Episode 1 and they say Star Wars Episode 1 is bad. Why? Well, there's a huge list of reasons, but not all of these get filtered through as cultural and popular consensus happens until it gets to the point where only one reason is the most repeated reason: Jar Jar Binks. Same thing with Code of Honor. Racism. Everybody called it the racism episode. Even though, this is going to sound strange, it's actually less racist than other episodes of Trek, especially TOS episodes and a couple of Voyager episodes, but also the racism was literally accidental, as I talk about in my lamentation in that video. What happened was they were so low on budget that the casting director mistakenly hired a bunch of black actors and told them to, act stereotypically black, and was rightly blasted for that, fired. But because they had budget and because of how hiring actors works in Hollywood, they had to still pay all those actors even if they didn't use them in the episode. And they didn't have the budget to replace them, so they went ahead with it. So yes, there was some racism there, but it's actually really mild compared to the other problems with what's going on, right? But that's the common thing. That's the common consensus that filtered out until that's the one thing that everyone repeated. The reason I'm bringing this up, this is in relation to something Mr. Red just mentioned, is because I got some comments on Code of Honor when that video went live. When the lamentation on Code of Honor went live, I got about 5 or 6 comments which all said the same thing. I don't think it's racist, or it's not that racist, or people overblow how bad this episode is because it's not that racist. And everyone kept hitting that same point because they weren't responding to me. They weren't responding to the video I made or all the points I brought up. They were responding to common consensus. They saw, oh, this episode sucks, and they assumed. It's a very common thing. Dragging this back to the point of this episode, what do you want to bet that people are going to look at these reviews and look at these streams and think, oh, he's just saying it because it's hard or because it's a Dark Souls game or whatever the common cultural thing is? Did I say episode? And are going to just fixate on that without actually watching or viewing or anything. And so what will probably happen is I will probably get quite a few negative comments early on that don't have anything to do with the actual video game, not anything to do with my actual review. And you're probably thinking, why are you bringing this up now? Well, I was bringing up Code of Honor specifically because literally yesterday, I actually went back and was looking at my Code of Honor comments to find those comments I just mentioned to you. That's why they're so fresh in my memory. What I had to do was I had to crawl down page after page after page of positive and constructive comments in order to get to those initial negative ones. I speak pretty badly about some of the toxic comments I got on YouTube because I absolutely get them. But it does bear repeating that those are very, very much in the minority. I have a pretty good comment section, all things considered. Oh, and J.K. Rowling is a terrible toxic person. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's see here. So I got a comment on one of my Voyager vids, and it's great because it was an episode. It was an episode where I was talking about the concept of accidental racism, which you probably remember the episode. I'm not going to go into details because if you remember the episode, you know the episode I was commenting on. It was something I was commenting on kind of in the background as just a random, this is kind of interesting, and it's a nuanced take on it. I was actually praising the episode in question. The comment I got, you can't go find it because I deleted it, was, oh my gosh, you talk about accidental racism. How about accidental sexism? Like, random example, speaking negatively about J.K. Rowling, who is a wonderful and fantastic human being. Do you hate women, Lore? You can see why I deleted it. That was bait. That was just straight up bait. Like, you love how many gymnastics they had to do to go from something not only completely unrelated, but multiple steps completely unrelated, to then, like, okay, hang on, so it's accidental racism. So now let's do accidental sexism, and then let's bring that into J.K. Rowling, and then do another final leap into the fact that I hate women. Sorry, Bragwin. It's true. It's true. This whole time it's been true. Did Anthem ever have potential? No. The best thing about Anthem was made up at the last minute by an executive as a random crossed his mind thought. I want you to think about that, because that says a lot about exactly how much potential Anthem had. Oh. We did it. We made it to the halfway point of the game. So, for those of you who weren't here for this, you see that little alcove there? Hours and hours ago, we jumped down there because we're invincible, landed here, and just roamed around a bit. I was mostly just exploring, because at the time I was very lost, because the bridge was bugged. But yeah, we made it back. We're halfway through the game. Yeah, the one positive I am definitely considering, and will probably end up giving, is for the spells themselves. They're interesting, they're surprisingly well designed, and they're kind of cool. Oh, we've actually talked to this guy before. In fact, we've killed this guy before. That's good. Talk to him again in this timeline. Yep. No living people can be here. There we go. No living people can be here. No living food can be given to Lord. Oh! You've given up on it. Why?
You're welcome.
It's blackberry cobbler. And I guarantee you it's delicious because it was made by my sister and she's an excellent baker.
He also helped me flambe the top so that the little sugar crystals got caramelized.
I was wondering about that.
I was going to try to do it with the broiler, but it wasn't working. And I have the kind of luck with the broiler that it's not working, it's not working, it's all on fire!
Yeah, that's probably what would have happened.
It's never on fire, like actually on fire. It's just, you know, charcoal.
I mean, charcoal's fine, you know. See if we can go through the gateway. Nope, won't open. Hey sis, you want to see the worst GM in the universe? There's a door here. Try to open it.
I can see through it.
Won't open.
Huh.
There's no... that's it. Imagine you're playing D&D and a GM just says, the door won't open. And that's it.
Maybe there's some other reason that it says that it won't open.
There might be, but that's not what the GM is telling me, is it?
No, but you, being the GM, occasionally do things without telling us why. You never give us a locked door and tell us how to open it. You walk up to you and you say, it won't open.
Well, god dang it.
I want to pick the lock. There doesn't appear to be a lock.
Well, then why won't it open? Oh god, snakes. Snakes. I hate this section so much. So what is so let me try to give you a more accurate answer, because the problem is there's many. New Game Plus should be there to give the player a chance to play around with all the cool and fun things that you gave the player something to play around with. A lot of games have this mentality of you can only get the cool stuff at the end of the game. I hate that mentality. That mentality sucks. So having to, having that kind of a thing can be mitigated by the introduction of New Game Plus, where, okay, you got all the cool things later, but now you can actually have fun with them. And it's not about difficulty, it's not about making the game easy, it's literally about having fun. It's about enjoying that stuff, right? Luminaire's neat and all, but what it really is cool. And being able to throw off all those dual techs and triple techs, you don't need those in Chrono Trigger. But you also don't really get to play with them for the time and period to really get to appreciate them. I infamously have gone after FF7 many times for this exact problem. That there's so many cool things that you don't get until literally the last dungeon. Another purpose behind New Game Plus is, of course, giving the player the chance to just go get some catharsis value. To just say, you know what? I want to go kill the crap out of some things that gave me trouble earlier. Stomp, 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 stomp. And of course they earned it because... They already earned all that crap and now have the New Game Plus to do it with. Because, this is especially true in games like Devil May Cry, which has New Game Plus built in, where a lot of the cool stuff you get is literally moves and combos and stuff like that. Like, that's awesome that you get to New Game Plus in those games. Someone mentioned this, I agree completely, the ability to enjoy different choices or options, to see what different characters will say in cutscenes. Basically, God, I hate this so much. This is so... It's hard to explain how hard this is to control on this. And remember, we're moving faster than normal. When there's a timed thing that's just going back and forth hitting us, just think about that for a second. This is probably double negative territory. First, for the terrible controls making the platforming insta-death awful. Second, the fact that there's only one save and it's at the beginning of this entire section way up there. And third, because of the fact that you're so damn slow normally in an area which has gotcha traps. Wow, we really did skip a couple of things there, didn't we, Mr. Red? I'd like to say I feel bad about that. But I don't. Here we go. Maybe? Yes, here we go. I found it. Okay, I found where we are. I'm not sure where we're going. We still don't actually have a destination in mind. Have you noticed that? We still have no goal. Long-term, mid-term, or at the moment, short-term. We have no idea where we're going or why. Looks like we're going to floor 50. And I've been saying that this whole time. I'm gonna make a highlight reel note here. Because I've been saying this whole time we're trying to get to floor 28 or 18 or 9 or 20 or 60 or 50 or whatever. Because that's all it is. These levels are so divorced from anything approaching connective tissue, logic, reason. Even from a purely gameplay perspective, we're not doing anything. We're just going to floor 50. That's it. That's what we're doing. We're going to floor 50. That's our goal. And you can see why that bothers me so much. So it looks like we need to go this way. The dungeon design is, I would say, worse than Quest 64. Because Quest 64 is a game that has no dungeon design. Nice, long tracks through empty corridors. This is so much worse. Although it gets back into that old saying, what's worse, bad or boring? That is fair, Mr. Red. I don't want to sound too unkind. We did skip an entire, rather lengthy section just by virtue of being invincible. And let me tell you, it's my favorite part of the whole game so far. It's not a joke. The moment where I looked at that, and you told me everything that we would have to go, lemon. And everything we would have to do in order to get past that fire, and instead, we just walked through it, was such a cathartic moment. So, thank you everyone for joining me for this game, Mr. Red. I'm going to be ordering several assassinations on you, just so you know. Tomorrow at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time, as is our norm. We'll continue playing this.
One evening of the most delicious dessert this side of Texas later.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're all here for. The thing you want most. Which for some reason isn't showing up on the screen. Very strange. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where I am again. I know I haven't... You know what? I should do my due diligence here. I should show you just how bad these stupid maps are. Here we go. Okay, so like... Emma? So, granted, this isn't the game's fault, and I'm not going to ding the game for this, but... Like, just look at these maps. Just look at these stupid things. And in some cases, they're fine. But in other cases, like, okay, hang on. So there was this one place where I kept getting screwed up with. And you remember I was staring at the map for like a solid minute trying to figure out what to do. It was that one right there on the left. You see that in the upper left? The Forge. Because the problem is, it's a 3D area. It's actually a 3-story area that they're trying to present with a top-down map. And so I kept staring at it like, where's the staircases? Where's the roads? Yes, this is the Prima official strategy guide. And we all know Prima guide sucks, right? Like, Prima guides have always sucked. So it's like, what? How do I... Where do I... Anyways, where we actually are is we're down here. We just got through the egg mines to map 50. So we're in the ancient city level 1 right there. That's where we are right there. So we just went through that door, which was to 48. So we're in the upper left. Don't know where we're going? I think we're going down. Because I'm still just making up what the hell we're doing at this point. I actually watched a bit of a lore explanation video on this game earlier. Because it's a Dark Souls game and I always have to watch a lore explanation video to figure out what the hell's going on. And, I'm just going to admit that. I'm just going to admit that. And, everything they talked about is something we haven't encountered yet. Also, apparently, there are translation issues, which is funny in a game where most of the lore comes from little, like, text tidbits here and there. So, you have to piece together a puzzle, but someone cut some of the edges of the puzzles off, and someone spray painted over some of the puzzle pieces. Have fun! We revere the great darkness which hesitate in... We reverie... No, that's revere. We revere the great darkness which hesitate in the flow of time. So there's an example of a localization issue. I don't know how much... See, here's the problem. And this is something that's actually worth discussing. Because it might be that these are just minor issues, but I don't know. And this is one of the reasons I'm hesitant to give a negative for this. Because I don't know how much nuance I'm missing in these stories. Like, we've seen Souls-likes. We know how much they put emphasis onto tiny details, because they expect you to pick up on those details and then put the pieces together, right? So I don't know how much of these are just little goofs that don't really matter, and how much of them are screwing up the story that I'm trying to piece together, right? So, I don't know. I do not know. I will admit, and I've said this many times, I don't enjoy the type of storytelling that the Souls-likes have. But that's a preference thing. One thing that pissed me off the most when we were streaming Elden Ring was the reviewers who would say that Elden Ring had a lazy story, or lazy writers. And that honestly pissed me off, because of all the things you could level at Elden Ring for negatives, laziness is not on that list. What they did required a fairly large amount of time, effort, and work. You know? I mean, come on, right? What I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of work and care that is put into this style of storytelling. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I can't acknowledge and accept that. In the beginning there was chaos. We saw the darkness within and gladly embraced it. We worshipped and existed within the darkness. Darkness was our peace. After much time passed, the darkness left our hands and willed itself to consume all. We closed the altar and returned to the beginning. Unbalanced power can only bring forth destruction. Do not go near the sealed darkness. Make our demise your lesson. Kingdom Hearts joke. Hello, boss? Hello, boss. They still exist, the remnant of the forest folk. Hi. Okay, that's an interesting attack. That's probably one of the cooler boss concepts so far, actually. Kill it in one shot, but you know. Yeah, that was a boss. Anyways, you can tell because, you know, as with all Dark Souls games, big epic music started playing the moment we encountered him. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and acknowledge something. As much as I hate this game, and to be very clear, I do, I'm going to give a story positive for visual storytelling. It's not much, and there's a couple things here and there, but yes. Story negatives, yep, nope, those are good. We did, however, come up with 2 gameplay positives, both of which are for the spells, which is funny because the spells are also a negative. However, I also updated the gameplay negatives, which you may not have noticed that number has grown a little bit. And I am debating an additional story positive. We'll have to see how we do as we go further down into the depth. But this HUD is up to date as of right now. And I wanted to acknowledge that, because now I want to give a bit of a speech. There's a concept called resistance in game design. It's actually very important. It is, in fact, mandatory. Resistance is what allows the player to accomplish anything. I'm explaining that wrong. Resistance is falling into a pit and dying, or an enemy hits you and does damage, or you know, whatever. There's many different types of resistance when it comes to game design. It's a very generic term, but it refers to anything the game does in order to push back against the player, to force you to overcome it, hence the term resistance, right? Now, resistance is a very, very debated topic amongst game design, for good reason. Probably because it is such a subjective thing. There's no such thing as good resistance or bad resistance in the strictest sense of the word. Because resistance is resistance, and how much you are going to want or interact with is going to depend entirely upon you and your individual preferences, right? Anyways, resistance. Sorry, let's do this over. I'm getting distracted. I'm going to put the control down. Let's stare at these. Let's stare at these beautiful, beautiful textures while I talk. So, you remember yesterday that I gave that big speech? It should be in the highlight reel, if we do a highlight reel, about how there's a growing group of people who enjoy MMOs. Even though MMOs are arguably bad games, that's simply not what they're after, right? Again, just to refresh, there's MMOs where the players generate the content, EVE Online, or the upcoming Dune game. There's MMOs where the developers generate the content, like Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, or World of Warcraft. And then there's MMOs which are chat programs with something to do while you chat. And it was a completely different format, even though those are arguably bad games and would review badly. The fact of the matter is, they're not really intending to be a game in the strictest sense of the word, right? It's a community thing. And so that's the point of it. And I mentioned that got me thinking. That got me thinking about the ideas and concepts of games and people who just want something else out of a game. And that got me thinking about this game. Let me be very clear. I think this game sucks. I stand by every single one of these negatives I've given this game. If anything, I have been overly kind because we've been cheating, and the level of frustration I'm feeling is lower because of that. So this is not even a fully accurate review. However, Mr. Red was telling me last night why he likes this game, and it's because when he was a kid, he was dropped on his head repeatedly. It's because of the fact that Mr. Red enjoys overcoming games. And that got me thinking, because I know people who really enjoy games like Dark Souls, or, well, I'm not going to name any specifics, but bad games, to put it simply. I know people who legitimately enjoy bad games. The example I always like to go back to is Hearth and Stone, I think is the name of the game. I actually just forgot the name of the game. It's a game where crafting stuff takes literal hours, as in real life hours, and doing something like chopping down a log takes like several minutes of just sitting there and holding down the button. It's a game that would review horribly. It's a game that is an awful game that people enjoy because the whole point is the resistance. Some people enjoy overcoming the game. Now, I understand that. I completely comprehend that in an abstract. I liked playing Cyber Shadow, which is a balls-hard Ninja Gaiden game, right? I liked playing Jedi Fallen Order on hard. I killed every boss in Bloodborne and Elden Ring without cheats, right? Like, I don't need to explain this. I enjoy that kind of overcoming. The difference here is the specifics of what's being overcome. In the examples I just gave, I was overcoming difficulty. But in the examples of games like this, what you're doing is you're overcoming the fact that it's a bad game. So what this means is I firmly stand behind my review that this is a bad game. But it is then understandable why people would enjoy it, because what they're doing is they're beating the game. Does that make sense? Not because the game's difficult, because frankly, this is not a difficult game. It is a boring game. It is a slow game. It is a slog with no direction and no guidance and terrible visuals. And the whole thing plays awfully with terrible controls and a bad interface. But all of that can then be resistance, which the player can then enjoy overcoming. And this was really in my head, not just because of Mr. Red, but because of when I was looking up some of the lore stuff last night, trying to figure out more about what's actually going on in this game. I saw a lot of people talk about how much they enjoyed beating the game, how much this was a beloved classic, and I'm just sitting here thinking, why? Not in an insulting way, in a, no, really, why do you enjoy this game? But then I got to thinking, one of the things that I have consistently lambasted about several games, especially Fromsoft games, is their terrible interface and their bad controls. This is true even up to and including Elden Ring. And the reason I bring all that up is because one of the most consistent responses I got was that improving the controls and improving the interface and making the game actually play better would diminish the game. It would make the game worse. And every time someone said that, I would just shake my head like, huh? Well, this is my theory, my statement. I say theory, but I'm willing to put high certainty on this one. I think some people just enjoy overcoming the game. And there's nothing actually wrong with that. But I should say that doesn't make the game better. And if I can defend myself on that point for one quick second. Let's say there's a game that's not a good game, but it's got a great mod scene. The modders have come in and made this game fantastic. Awesome. Does the game get credit for that? You see the point? So, if you enjoy this game, honestly, thumbs up. I'm happy. But this is still a crap game. The darkness can't reach the outside world if we conceal it in the city. Our only hope is Lord Mew. Mew, Mew! And then there's this one, which I didn't read out loud, which was, the stones to the drawbridge for the center tower have been removed. The cutoff roof will be easy to climb. There's nothing I can do. Yeah, I honestly didn't even notice these textures at first, to be very honest. I was gonna say, this is not a joke. That's the most plot we've gotten in the entire game. That's not an exaggeration. Hidden in this one random room, which I almost didn't go through. I was just being thorough. Look at this. Tell me if there's anything interesting in this room from this screen right here. You know, if I'm gonna ding wow on this. I am absolutely going to ding this game on this. Story presentation. So, someone mentioned an analogy. It's like killing your workers in StarCraft when your economy's going down. That's kind of literally true. Here's the deal. Most executives like to just cancel projects. This is true in shows, movies, and games, by the way. When quarterly profits are down, because it's an immediate reduction in cost that they can then go to their investors and their bosses and say, look, I'm doing something to fix the problem. And it's something big and obvious that everyone can understand. I cut Prodigy, therefore costs are down. I win. I'm a good manager. Anyone with any kind of logic anywhere ever can tell how extremely stupid this is. Now, it's not to say that there are also tax benefits, but that varies, and I don't want to talk about that because that varies so much. I don't want to get into it. But you can see how surface level of a solution that is. But it works because it's, again, a big obvious thing that you can take to a meeting and saying, I've cut this, and therefore blah blah blah, and you get brownie points for it, right? Yeah, exactly, Darker. I just fired 800 people from our QA departments. Therefore, I deserve this big raise. And it works. It works because it's surface thought. Because rather than actually doing any due diligence, people involved just look at the surface material in question and say, oh yeah, that's obvious. You've clearly made that happen. It reminds me of something that we used to talk about, and it's so complicated. I actually need to take a second to remember the exact construction of the scenario. Give me just a moment here. So what used to happen at a company I used to work with, ping to you flag end, is that there was a boss, a manager, and the manager in question used to insist that rather than hiring someone else to do something, we should do it internally. We should have one of our own employees doing this. And the reason he always gave was, because we're saving money. Now, obviously, that's stupid. Well, actually, complexly, that's stupid. Obviously, it's smart. He was saving money by having people internally do it. Here's the problem. Think about it from a base perspective. Let's say I pay ACT 20 bucks an hour. That's a pretty low wage, but let's just assume that, okay? Now, let's say that I have ACT work on something internally. ACT has to not only not be doing ACT's current job, but they also have to be now doing this additional job, which they may or may not be, skilled in doing. So it will take ACT longer to do this job than it would to hire someone else, and ACT is not doing their actual job at the time. What this means is if we're to go ahead and count the amount of money that hiring someone else to do this job is as, let's say, 10. Let's just assume it's the factor of 10. Let's just work with that. ACT will now have to be spending maybe 12 or 13 in order to do the job, so it's already more expensive. And then there's the additional layer that ACT is not doing their current job. So we're losing money, spending more money to not pay someone else to do the job. That's what I mean when I surface link. And even what I just mentioned is not even a particularly complex scenario. But it's how that works. It's how managers tend to work. They are so surface level stupid that they think saving money is a thing they can do by making broad, sweeping, dumb statements which actually cost the company money. If you ever wonder why I tend to come down so hard on this stuff, it's because the example I just gave was a real example from my real life. I have lived through this crap. This is not speculation based on news reports. I used to live and work in corporate America. Yeah, exactly. A good cost-benefit analysis is exactly to determine the actual cost and benefit of an action. Because occasionally, maybe it is better to have someone internally do it. Depends, right? Maybe the external source is charging too much. Maybe they're incompetent. Something that has also happened, this is another true story, is we hired someone else to do some quick contract work. Naturally, we got them on the cheap. Good idea. Money saved. They did the work. It sucked. Not only did it suck, it was done so improperly that we had to then hire someone else to come in, tear out all the construction work they'd done, more than was originally there. So like there was an empty space, and now more than that empty space has to be cleared out to then make room to do it again from scratch. More expensive and proper company. He saved money by going with the cheap option. Now, let's talk level design. The thing I will always say, see, the problem here, I know that whether something's good is something that people are going to debate. I get that. But I said this before, I'm comfortable enough in my own opinion at this point in my life to just say this is bad. I don't need to add 15 asterisks to it. I don't need to say, in my opinion, I don't need to say my reviews are subjective. Bad game, we're done. You know, I don't need to do the song and dance every time. So, the important part I want people to take away from that is that I am not trying to insult anybody, because even bad games can be enjoyable. Just like even bad movies and bad shows can be enjoyable, right? Right? If I sat down and thought about it, I could probably come up with a laundry list of games that do not score well, that I would consider bad games, that I enjoy just plenty. So, let's talk here. Let me get a high level thing. Let's talk about level design. One of the things that I said right off the bat, and it was actually unusual at the time. I think this is now considered normal. But when we first played, when I first played Dark Souls 1, I said, oh, this is a Metroidvania. And if you remember, a lot of people are like, Lore, you're dumb and you're stupid and you're an idiot and you're a moron. And I find that funny because, to my knowledge now, it's pretty much the common consensus that Dark Souls 1 is a Metroidvania. But anyways, but it is the structure and style and approach of those kind of games, which are living and breathing the level design and I always call it like the liquid, the amount of areas you can access slowly expanding as you gain more and more keys and shortcuts and routes and abilities, right? That's the Metroidvania. I think they were going for a Metroidvania in this game. It just sucks. So, this game, because Dark Souls 1 is obviously a Metroidvania. Thank you, Hazardous, for agreeing with me in every way. But no, this game is clearly trying to be a Metroidvania. It's a terrible Metroidvania. At multiple points in the game, I have been able to access new areas, but there's no feedback indicating that. There's no real, this item is for this area, or this key is for this thing, or you have unlocked this thing, or this new ability gains you access to this. Instead, you're just supposed to go back and try everywhere, or have a walkthrough, to figure out where you're supposed to go. And in a game as slow and plodding and irritating to play through as this, I'm already disinclined to do that. But to be perfectly frank, even if this was, I'll use a direct example, Metroid Dread, which is one of the smoothest and best flow games I've ever played in my life, I still would be disinclined to do that, and that would still make it a bad Metroidvania if they used this overall approach in terms of allowing you to progress. The reason I'm bringing this up right now is because I have no idea where I'm going. Now, I have a map over here, and I look over here on the map, and I'm like, okay, let's look at the map. So I'm looking at the map, I'm scrolling up and down, and if you remember, we came up here from map 50, which I know doesn't mean anything to you, but it was the Ancient City Level 1 West. We got through there from the egg mines. Now, the egg mines, we went through a whole thing there, but we managed to get through the egg mines. The egg mines only really go to one place. So no matter what route you go through the egg mines, there's only the place you came from, which is floor 47, and the place you're going, which is floor 50, okay? Okay, so we're in floor 50. So I go through floor 50, and I'm trying to get down to further down. So we went down to floor 51. That was that big empty expanse area where we got all that lore about the darkness. You remember that? Okay, cool. That's also where we got the ancient key. Awesome. We have an ancient key. Where did that go? I have no idea. But since that was a dead end, we now backtrack. Okay. But the problem is floor 50 only goes to two other places, 52 and 40. We're at 40. We just finished 40. Another dead end. We can't go to 51. Where are we going? And keep in mind, the only reason I knew where we were going on any level was because I have a freaking map. I legitimately do not know where to go next. I have no guidance in the level design to tell me where to go next. I have no map, no little pop-up saying there's been thermal activity detected in this area. I don't have, like there hasn't been stuff that's indicating like there's a red door and I just got the red weapon. I don't have, like, anything that makes a Metroidvania work is not present here. Exactly, Haspis. So I'm just sitting here like, I don't know where to go next, so I'm gonna stare at the map for a minute to try to figure out where it wants me to go next. There's some really weird, like, just organic iconography. In the stage design, and it's just not my thing. Oh my god, it's Elden Ring. Look, he's got the grafted arm and everything. So, housing... Ye who seek darkness' secret be destroyed. No! No! It's... I don't know what it is. We're at the point now, obviously anytime a real estate market has an issue in any major country, it tends to affect other countries just by virtue of the fact that economies are intertwined with each other, right? So, duh, right? Thing is, we're at the point now where United States housing issues are affecting, for example, Spanish housing issues, which are affecting United States housing issues, which are affecting French housing issues, which are affecting United States housing issues. And you get the idea. The housing bubble is starting to reverberate, for lack of a better way to put it. Usually it would have already crashed by this point. Having said everything I just said, can I go ahead and give one other thing? This is pure opinion. It's kind of a philosophical opinion. Whenever you try to solve a problem, what you almost always do is you create a new problem. The thing is, I don't think that's actually a bad thing. I think that's just progress. People have this weird, almost unintentional perspective that Vigilant is going to donate right now. I don't know why people think that. Vigilant would never donate to me, ever. I think that people have this weird opinion. Give me a second, Vigilant. Have this weird opinion and perspective that a solution is supposed to be permanent. But that's just not realistic. Life is about finding a solution which causes problems to which you find solutions for. Now, obviously, that can propagate the wrong way, but that just means you need to rewind a bit and retry a different solution path, right? So, of course, we're going to cause problems as we try to fix the problems we have. But that's fine. That just means we now need to work on the new problems. And that's just the way I think of things like that. I actually learned that in programming, believe it or not, but I have found that that applies in a lot of different ways in life. I mean, let me give you a very, very basic take on that. Factorio. You ever play Factorio? Factorio is probably one of the best problem-solving games I've ever seen in my life. It is all about flow-through and infrastructure and efficiency. And I guarantee whatever solution you come up with for a problem in Factorio will cause additional problems, which then have to be solved. That's the gameplay loop of Factorio. But that's awesome, and it's fun, and I highly recommend it, by the way. Yeah, exactly, Darker. I mean, the frickin' maintenance staff back at the complex I was just at, right? It was bonkers how much they abused the people who worked there before. Let me walk this back. So the people who worked there before were at least people who, there were multiple. There was a group of them. They had a lot of work to do because it's a demanding job, but at least they were taken care of. Then they fired all of them and replaced them with one dude who didn't even speak English. Now, I keep mentioning the not speaking English part, not because of any, like, oh, he sucks, but because I want you to imagine how awful it would be doing a job where you have to regularly interact with people and you cannot talk to them. See, that's about what your reaction would probably be, right there. Yeah, that's a little buggy. Yeah, I think we are quite stuck. You've got to be kidding, Mr. Red. You've got... Please tell me you're kidding, Mr. Red. Green, huh, Mr. Red? Okay. Sorry, I was being ultra cautious, Mr. Red. Because last thing I want to do is be 3 steps ahead, and you're like, no, wait, you're going the wrong way. You're so stupid, Lord. Why are you so stupid? And you're just beating me across the face. Oh, Lord, stop being stupid. And I'm just like, oh, God, I'm sorry, Mr. Blood dripping down my lips. I'm so sorry, Lord. Or I'm so sorry, Mr. Red, please. Please stop beating me. And you're like, no, you're just so stupid. And thus Lore dies as he lived. Stupid. Unfrozen caveman lawyer. That reminds me of the Viking who joined the Special Forces series of, what do they call those? What's, what do you call those terrible pulp trash romance novels that are usually aimed at women? There's a term for that type of book. Harlequins is correct, but I was actually looking for another word. Bodice rippers. That's also correct, but still not what I was looking for. Anyways, trash romance novels. Let's just call them what they are. Trash romance novels. Some of those are absolutely hysterical. And there's one, this is a real series, I swear I'm not making this up, about a time-traveling Viking who joins the Special Forces. It's great. It's so great. It's so terrible. It's so terrible. It's really, really trashy. It's a Harlequin book, but it's just a really trashy series of it. It is absolutely so bad it's good. Oh shoot, I don't remember what it's called. Hang on, let me see if I can find the name of it. While Mr. Red uses his high-skilled labor to figure out where to tell me, the low-skilled laborer, where to go. Isn't this it? This is it. Viking Unchained is one of the books in the series. Hang on a second. I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to find the name of the franchise. Give me a sec, because Viking Unchained is just one of them. This is actually from the back of the book. Once a Viking, he swore he'd travel the earth to find his little boy. But the Viking warrior Thorfinn Haraldsson never counted on traveling through time, and he's more than a little surprised to find himself in modern-day Baghdad, in the midst of a Navy SEAL operation. Luckily, the SEALs include his cousin, who takes him stateside. There at a bar, he stumbles on a woman with an eerie resemblance to his cheating wife. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's by Sandra Hill. And I unironically recommend it. If you're interested in just some trash, hysterical novels. There's several of them. I think there's like 8 in the series. Oh, I should be able to open this now because I have the engineer's key. Right. Hey. Oh, hey, look, it's a bridge thing. Hang on. Let's get a backup save here. Yeah, I know, right, Mr. Red? But yeah, Fee is annoying in gameplay, not in narrative. There is a difference. Fee is a great character that I actually really like. But god damn it, shut the hell up. You know? Ugh. Master, I have detected that you are walking through a large corridor. Please be aware that there is a door up ahead, Master. Master, there's a 78.7% chance that if you open this door, it will lead to a new area. You are now in a new area, Master. Master, this is not the way to go. You need to go back through the door. I detect a 68.7% chance that you are lost, Master. You are now in an old area, Master. Master, the batteries in your Wiimote are running low. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is most of the Sim development team, just not Miyazaki. Right down to the fact that fire magic is overpowered. Fresh sacrifice, the Dark One will be happy. Here's the boss. I'm just gonna let her chill there for a second while I talk to my mother. It is! Exclamation mark. Good morning, comma. Did you ever end up going to see that Indiana Jones film? Question mark. I made the comment earlier while I was talking to PAX that bosses in this game are literally less complex than Mega Man bosses. I stand by that. Just mentioning it. It's weird that this series would actually get known for its boss design eventually. And by this series, I mean these developers. Hang on, Yura. I'm afraid I'm going to have to execute you for heresy. I'm so sorry. Don't worry. We'll make it very quick. All I have to do is make a swirling symbol. Hang on. Hang on, I got to recalibrate. Give me a sec. Okay, okay. Come on. Come on. No, where are you going? I try, Malik. I really do. As I am fond of saying, we're cool around here. So that's just mean, Fromsoft. That's just mean. By the way, I can't move the camera during these cutscenes, if you're wondering why we're at a weird angle here. Oh, I'm sorry, Dark Prince Revan. Soon. Yep, it's time to stop playing Minecraft. And then say thank you to Dream Whisperer. There, the Moonlight Sword. There, it is now officially a Dark Souls game. When the light becomes stronger, the dark does as well. Perhaps relying on magic alone isn't the best way to fight the darkness. We seek the light that dispels and the blade that can slay. Seek the blade of the forest. In order to completely remove the dark folk, you will need the light of the forest to enchant the blade. Only then must you face the dark one. Didn't I literally just do that quest? That's this, right? This thing that I'm hitting you with? You moron? God damn this game. Anyways. Spidey. Let me give you some examples that I actually have memorized about how bad this show is, because ignoring the fact that the animation is bad, which I can forgive, because the animation is very bad, like one of the worst CGI animated shows I've ever seen in terms of animation. But let's talk about the writing. So, the Hulk and Spider-Man are chasing Green Goblin. Just go with it. And there's a scene where they're like, oh, we must fight. And then Green Goblin flees the scene. Then there's this quick transition, so no time has passed, okay? So Green Goblin is going over here, and then the Hulk and Spidey are chasing him from the scene they just left. Green Goblin then turns around and says, "You guys again?" In one episode, Peter Parker is standing there thinking, oh no, I need to do these two tasks at the same time. How could I possibly do that? And then he sits and does this for a moment. And then he's like, I've got it. I'll just do the 2 tasks at the same time. This show is aggressively bad. But I'm not just bringing it up to bash it. I'm making a point. There is a difference between a kid's show that is well constructed and a kid's show that is not. So, even the overall... No, it's called Spidey, I think. Actually, I don't know. Spidey. Marvel's Spidey and His Amazing Friends is apparently the full title. Yeah. And yeah, if you just look at it, you'll see just how bad it looks. Even just glancing at the models, you can tell how low budget it is. But again, I could forgive that if the script was actually worth a damn. If there was decent writing, decent dialogue, and they did something with it. It is one of the worst kids shows I've ever seen. That's not a joke. I spit on this show. Compare and contrast something like Bluey, which is a much better constructed show, or Elena is another example of one. Those are modern shows that are kids shows that are actually well constructed. And that's sort of my point. Sorry, I know we're going way off topic here, but I was just trying to really emphasize the fact that even if we accept the argument that MLP is made for kids, that in no way excuses if it does something bad, you know? And that's just my overall point in a nutshell there. We should still demand high-quality stuff, regardless of whether or not it's a kid's show or a kid's game. I am not going to... Yes, Sophia's actually a decent one, too. I am not going to hold back on demanding quality from Pokemon any more than I'm going to hold back on demanding quality from FF16. Just because one of them is gritty and has more cuss words and sex in it doesn't change the fact that I'm still going to demand a good product. Oh yeah, that's another thing that Spidey likes to do. So a lot of kids' shows will repeat the lesson of the episode several times. Okay, honestly, no judgment. That's fine. But Spidey will repeat the lesson of the episode roughly once every 2 minutes. That's not a joke. There was one episode where Spidey just, for no reason, was like, I've got to go do this thing. Hang on. I'm getting too angry. It wasn't Spidey, sorry, it was Hulk. Hulk was like, I've got to go do something. I'm getting angry. And then he'd stop and then he'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to calm himself down. Real technique. Valid. Then he would be like, all right. And then there's a scene transition. And it's been like 40 seconds. And then at the next step, oh no, I'm getting angry again. Let me calm down. And they did as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing again. And then again. And then again. And then again. And as always, it comes down to the execution. It comes down to the specifics. There's nothing necessarily wrong with repetition as long as it's done well, even in something that's not aimed at kids. But that's just bad. And that's the problem. It's just bad. You gonna do it this time? I have no idea what changed there, but it worked the third time. I don't know. I don't know. The concept of good and bad shows, for kids and otherwise, is hardly a new concept. What? We're still falling, if you can't tell. We're still falling. Now, thankfully, I'm pretty consistent about using these things, so yeah, we've got a bunch of golems. This is probably one of the better visual storytelling areas we've seen. We're really seeing what the darkness does to people down here, and you see this creature's bones? This dragon thing? It's just rotted down here to the darkness. Okay, I gotta share that on camera. So, my brother-in-law just shared a joke. If R2-D2 is short for, or if R2 is short for R2-D2, and Chewie is short for Chewbacca, and 3PO is short for C-3PO, then what is Luke short for? A stormtrooper. What's doubly funny is I've changed chairs like 3 or 4 times since then, Malik. It's okay, chair. I love the current you. No, I don't want the previous chairs back. Although... I mean, I still have fond memories of chair 3. Just saying. You know, I was thinking about saying, while I'm doing this audit and lining everything up and making sure we're all good here, something I noticed when I was going through this game. I'm sorry, the name of this song is Shadowbringer's Dungeon Boss Theme. I have no idea what the name of the song is. Something I was noticing as we went through this game is that it's not horrifically bad in any one field. You know how there's games where there's like 12 negatives to level design, or 8 negatives to boss design, or whatever, right? Like, it just piles on the negatives because there's one thing that just really sucks. No, Spartan, we're about to do it. I just want to do this first. But this game isn't like that. It's just double or triple negatives in almost every category, which is something we don't see very often. It's not extremely bad here and extremely bad here. It's bad. You know? And it's funny because several times I've thought about, is that a triple negative thing or is that a double negative thing? And most times I'm like, well, no, because it's not. It's just bad. I've seen worse. Weird to think about. Yes, without question, Mr. Red. Without question. Didn't think that walking in, but here we are. This is... It also has that extra little oomph on top of everything else. And you're probably thinking, what's the extra little oomph? I know this sounds pathetic, but it is what I consider to be the worst part of the level. And it's that god-damned ancient castle in the middle of everything. If I know you probably don't really have a good mental map of the game, but bear with me for a second, okay? Watch me here. So up top, here at the surface, we've got some of the caves and some of the little ruins we can go through. And then we go down a little bit, and we go through this thing, and then we get to the first level of the ancient ruins. There's also a side area over here, which leads to the forge, which leads to the second area of the ancient ruins. And then there's a little side area that goes off to the Widows and to their, like out to the ocean side and all that. And then there's the third level of the ruins. And then at the bottom of these ruins, we go out and we go do the areas we've been doing for the last few hours here. This is the central hub and the central axis of the entire level design. Everything is literally centered around this tree of the ancient hub, and it sucks. It's the place with the boring music everyone hated, that's dull gray stone next to dull gray stone. And it's irritating to navigate, and it's frustrating in terms of its enemy design, and the whole place sucks. And that's my thoughts on that. And 56 negatives to gameplay. Hello? So, let's go ahead and do the final boss. Let's go ahead and unmute the game. What do you do? I feel like something's happening here. I'm not sure what, though. That's it. Yes, definitely a net positive game. Alright, so let's go fight the final boss. Alright, so... Okay. So we're in... You had to get that gross in at the last minute, didn't you, Fromsoft? This is already a negative. I guarantee you. We're cheating, obviously, but look at the sheer density of enemies in this game. A game where combat is this bad and as slow and plodding and sluggish as it is. Think about how awful this would be if I wasn't cheating. Think about how terrible and slow and boring this would be. Also, I'm guessing there's no saves here, and I haven't seen a save for a minute. So, imagine having to do this over and over again each time we die. The enemies that probably, I'm going to be generous, 5-shot us at this point. Yeah, even if I somehow drag my way to this point in the game, I guarantee you this would be my quit point right here. Wow. Also, yeah, I was going to say, do you like how it's, even though it's all gross and ugly, and that's neat, it's all samey corridors, and we know what I think of samey corridors when it comes to level design. Needlessly complex and convoluted, which leads to, where the hell am I going? Yeah, my sister threw this on me. She knew I needed a comfort pillow. Okay, hang on. So we need to follow left wall first. And yeah, it also looks boring, and this is the final dungeon song. Hang on. Those of you in chat, have you ever been to a final dungeon in a video game? It's something that usually... I actually have an entire playlist devoted to final dungeon music. For example... morose, got that little military beat in the background for the implications of where Kefka's story came from. Here's another one, just randomly. One of my favorite songs of all time. Maybe it's cheating using Final Fantasies. Those tend to rock it, right? Okay, let's go with, I don't know, a song that nobody's ever heard before. Mega Man, actually. Yeah. You know what? How about a song from a game most people haven't even played? This is from Cyber Shadow. Exactly. It's a damn good game, though. Have I made my point yet?
No, you gotta pick a bad game.
A bad game? You know what? Okay, let me think about that. If S.A. Ross was here, I'd make a joke, but he's not here. Let's see. Do I have any bad games that have a good sound? Oh, you know what? I do. Hang on. Give me that. Right around here. Here we go.
This is
Sonic 06, I believe. What? Stop making fun of me. Just because you can't hear it.
I can't hear it, which makes it all the funnier. Look over and you're like...
Shut up! This is Crisis City, actually. It's not actually the last dungeon, but it kind of serves as a last dungeon song for Sonic 06. For reasons I'm not going to spoil right now. You get my freaking point. There is... It is such a common tendency that the last dungeon music... I know, Rex. It is kind of cheating. There's such a common tendency for the last dungeon to be either awesome or dreadful or impacting or uplifting or something. Even going back to Final Fantasy IV.
Or gross.
A song that has a unique last dungeon song, even from this specific composer and franchise. This is actually a great and heroic song. Triumphant. I've done an analysis on this music, on this very show. And this song still nails it, right? It is. You're absolutely right, Evo. That is where this... Yeah, there's just... I'm not going to mention the fact that I've got, like, 80 Mega Man Last Dungeon songs on this playlist, because of course I fucking do. You know what? Even Mario games tend to have some legit Last Dungeon music. Let me play an example, if you'll allow me. Oh, there it is.
How dare you?
Just let it play for a sec. Just let it play. Obviously, there's better. But you get my frickin' point. You get my frickin' point. And yeah, hang on. Because it was requested. Hang on, give me a second here. And you notice, once again, it's building atmosphere and tone. And yeah, PM Tracks has a great example. Diablo 1 had a surprisingly good Last Dungeon song. Another good one, Pika. Yeah, we're seconds from the last boss. Evo, I don't really know why I'm dragging this out. I just kind of hate my life. But here, one last example, then I swear we'll move on. Just to sort of make the point. This is still a good Last Dungeon song? I don't know what happened.
I didn't realize it was stuck.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much there.
I scared myself.
Now, I know this is kind of low and kind of hard to hear. So I'm going to go quiet for just a second so you can actually process it. You notice it's got a little bit of an otherworldly feel, but still got like a military beat underneath it. And an emphasis on using the same bass line they've been using since the very beginning, when you first entered the catacombs of the cathedral. Yeah, Diablo 1. It's still good. It's still absolutely what it needs to be. Yeah, it feels like a nightmare, which is what Diablo 1 was, as we talked about when we did the review not too long ago. And then we have this.
Unmute game for a fact. We should probably go find it.
Yeah, let's go beat the damn boss. Let's just do this and get out. Let's go through the... It's so appropriate for a game that is so long and slow and boring. No, Pika, we're gonna go on. To go ahead and have a long, slow, boring song for the last boss. Or for the last dungeon, excuse me. And the last dungeon is, of course, a long, slow, boring slog through a long, slow, boring texture. Look at this. Look at the density of the enemies in this garbage dungeon. You know me. You know me. I am much harsher and more strict about the intros and the outros of a game. I've always been that way. And I will always be that way. That I am that way for a very freaking good reason. I have reestablished and re-emphasized why I have that view for years. This is, no joke, triple negative territory before we reach the boss. Oh yeah, as a reminder, we're moving at double speed while being invincible and being able to one-shot enemies. Think about this crap. Mr. Red apparently beat this. Mr. Red is my hero. Oh right, we're sealing him, sorry. Is that the final boss?
Where is it?
It's just this dragon thing that's flying around.
What?
Shooting thing. Okay, that's not the final boss. Okay, we're okay. I mean, you know, honestly, Lord Harriman, I could see the logic there. If I had beat this game, I might try to force a reviewer to review it too. It's like, well, I had to suffer through this nonsense. So now you get to experience this. I need you to tell me.
Other people to know how bad this game is.
We need to spread the word of how crap this game is. We need other people to understand. Okay, so final boss time. Here it is. You seek the dark too.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we really don't.
Talk to you.
You're kidding.
What?
Well, okay.
Are we dying?
I don't know what's happening at this point. Which I suppose is just the tagline for this review. You're joking.
What?
So the final boss sits there and does nothing, while wave after wave of irritating enemies respawns, and then you hit him, and then he knocks you down, and, you know, because this game is in love with its pseudo-platforming, and then you run back up, and then you hit him again.
Aren't you supposed to one-shot him?
I want you, everyone in chat, to imagine doing this without the double speed, without invincibility. Just doing this for the final boss. Time. What? Darkness that had covered the skies for countless years has finally ebbed into nothingness.
How did you kill the boss?
I couldn't read the rest of that quickly enough. The scars from eons of dark dominion will eventually heal, but the comfort of sunshine is more immediately felt by all.
How did you kill the boss?
The cursed land has been cast into the abyss, forever sealed by the strength of the forest.
What? What does whacking it with a sword have to do with the forest?
I don't know.
So confused.
This is the good ending, by the way. We went out of our way to get the good ending. The ballads of the ancient king will, and his mythic sword shall be sung by all worthy souls for ages to come.
What king?
I don't know. His field is involved, though. What's the bad ending? What? By the way, do you notice there's no final boss music? While we're on the subject.
It's just the same music from earlier?
Yeah, it's the title screen music, which, you know, okay, in the interest of fairness, I'm one of those people who really likes the final boss song from Dark Souls 1. Those of you who know what it is know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, that worked. And they earned that, and it's its own unique piece, specifically designed to add to the moment, right? Instead of just playing the title screen music again. Is he just immune to magic? I agree with that, X. Okay, you know what? Let's play Minecraft. I agree with Mr. Red. Let's kill the final boss with the pickaxe. Because why not? Oh yeah, hang on. I haven't even tested this. Is this death?
What? What?
Hang on. Let me know when you can hear the game. It's gonna be a little loud, okay? So I'm gonna go into the instant death pit, but I'm invincible.
Okay.
Let's get out of there. Thank God I'm dead! At last! I don't have to play this game anymore! Oh my God! Oh. Okay, so he's dead! We did it! We killed the last boss! Except now, he's just I don't know what's happening.
Shit, stop picking up stuff.
Grave misfortune befall those who behold the idol found staring into the darkness. The darkness found a replacement and fell into sleep again.
What?
Ancient legend has come to pass.
You've become the darkness?
I think so, yeah. I think we became the next host. Surely that's not it. Oh my God, that's it! That's it! The bad ending is three sentences. Three sentences on a black background. That's insulting. That, I didn't like the good ending, but that's the bad ending? Yeah, I've literally seen NES endings that are better than that. Literally. Plural.
You can go back to your save state and go jump in the lava.
And thanks to the players.
Go jump in the lava. Go. Go. You need to laugh.
Give me a second. Let me finish typing this out. I want to see if there's anything after the ending. A loser is you! Oh my God, does it literally just go back to the title screen?
Save state. Jump in the lava.
Well, hang on. Let me change the save state. But wait, it's the same music it just was. How do I know it's different? The final dungeon song is the title screen song.
Neptune,
You may thank my sister for what's about to happen.
You can be smiling when you type your thoughts out because the game is done.
Why can't I die? Why am I still stuck here? Okay.
I think I broke the lore.
I'm not evil, I swear. Penguin says he has lungs the size of boxcars.
Little did you know, when you turned on cheats, you turned on infinite lung power.
Yep, I have infinite lung power now. Oh my god. It's true, we literally do have more breath capacity with cheats. That's actually true. Yeah, that's true. Anytime I need to degauze, I have this save state right here. You just load this save. I'll just be like, man, I'm in a bad mood. And I'll load this save state and just jump into the lava. Something I've talked about a lot. Yeah! Sorry, something I've talked about a lot, and I will...
Are you still screaming?
No, I muted it. Alright, paused it. Nope.
You should unmute it for a second. Okay,
fine. This is for my sister. Okay, so, something I've talked about a lot is the idea that something that's long is not bad and something that's short is not good, and that keeps coming up in game design. We have literally shark thrown at me. We've literally had games that are short that felt long because they were so crap, and then we would immediately switch to a long game that felt shorter because it was good. As I've always talked about, density and quality matter, not the actual length. Length of a game literally does not matter. The reason I bring that up is we pushed through this game in 14.1 hours, which is relatively short. It sure didn't feel like it, though. You know what we need to do? We need to get a sound clip of the yeah. And then, like, replace notes in a song with that, so the song is yeah. You know, kind of like that. So that leaves us a net -10 to story. Not great, but, you know, there's worse. Yeah, after garbage is mega garbage. And then you got turbo garbage. And then there's the one-winged angel garbage form. Yeah, could someone do me a huge favor? Pull up my site and look, like, or sort it by golden number. What's the bottom 5, please? While I finish this audit really quick here. We don't have to give the unskippable cutscenes negative.
Why?
Because the cutscenes are skippable.
Oh.
I know. It's shocking. So it looks like our bottom 5 are Shattered Universe, Quest 64, Mega Man X7, Devil May Cry 2, and Secret of the Stars. And there's some numbers. Perfect. Do we think it's going to get down there? -34 is hard to reach. Remember, it's exponential. So every point negative down is more than the previous point negative down.
I'm now mining candy canes to get red.
That means our total gameplay score is -64. Just to give you some numbers here, that is a density of 0.7 story negatives per hour, which is really bad. Hang on, it gets worse. That is 4.5 gameplay negatives per hour. That is a negative roughly every 15 minutes. That's bad. We've had worse than that. For example, Secret of the Stars was more dense than that. Devil May Cry 2 was worse than that. But still, that's bad. That is a ratio of 18.75% on the story axis and 2.94% on the gameplay axis. For those of you relatively new, what I mean by ratio is I track, so there's the total points, and then I track what percentage of all points given are positive. So 18.75% of the points are positive on the story axis, and 2.94% of the points are positive on the gameplay axis. Can I get a drum roll, please? Okay, let's see. I have a drum roll emote in chat. But thank you, sis.
I only had one hand, so.
Okay, I see where it's at. I see where it's going to sit in the bottom 5. I'm going to give this away. It is in the bottom 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Kingsfield 4 has a golden number of negative... I'm trying to be shocked. $41.54. That surpasses Star Trek. That surpasses Star Trek Shattered Universe and puts it at the number 5 slot. It doesn't surpass Quest 64 or Mega Man X7 or Devil May Cry 2 or Secret Stars, but it is the 5th worst game I have played. It crawled its way down to the number 5 slot. Jesus Christ. Final thoughts?
This sucked.
Earlier, I made a comment. We are going to be starting XCOM 2 today. Final thoughts. We mentioned earlier that some people derive enjoyment and pleasure from overcoming something that's irritating, frustrating, and bad. I am not one of those people. The only thing I feel is, thank God it's over. My final thoughts are, thank God it's over. And also, yeah! I synced on this. Yeah!